time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll see what happens. We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I am a dissident.
Don't move. Move.
I'm saying no. Why you hear Palantir, 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 Palantir? It's not going to stop.
Seriously, we need to release the F-scene list.
Turns off.
I am not a church boy.
Turns off.
They're full-on vampires.
They hate our beef. They hate our beef. They hate our beef because our beef is beautiful and theirs is weak.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome, one and all, to a Tuesday matinee edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. My name is Keaton Weiss, here with Russell Dobular, of course.
Hello.
Going with the Pink Floyd today, going with the little Roger Waters.
That's the little Roger Waters there.
Nice,
Roger
nice.
Waters.
All right.
I haven't worn that one in a while.
I went with my plain gray pocket tee today.
What is
I
that?
like it. My plain gray pocket tee. That's what I went with.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if you started doing this, it would be overkill.
Yeah.
You know, it would be too much.
Yeah, the irony is I try to make as little spectacle of myself as possible. Even though
I mean, your hair does most of the heavy lifting.
Yeah. Amanda just told me the chat was going to make fun of me today because of the way my hair looked. See, because now I got this thing where my wings, I got the Paulie Walnuts wings, but they're Jew wings, so they're disheveled stripes there, and so these are
like Wolverine with a bad back.
Exactly. These are gray and puffy, and then it looks like I have a wig almost now because the sides are going gray and the top is still still got that youthful color to it. So gonna have to figure out a workaround. I probably just have to get my hair cut shorter. The only problem is, you have to really maintain a hairstyle is a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of money, quite frankly. Like people go get haircuts every 3 weeks. Who wants to get a haircut every 3 weeks?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I get a haircut every month and a half to 2 months.
Yeah, see, I do it like every 6 months. I start short, I go long.
6 months?
Over.
Oh yeah. No.
Yeah, but that's not going to be tenable as I get older. And as I maintain my status,
my
as
hair,
a
my hair would
public
be
figure.
like poof if I did that.
Yeah. And now that I'm a public figure,
No, I totally
maintain
get the
look.
Wolverine wings. I get that thing.
Yeah, you get that
Coming
thing.
out
The
sides,
swoop, the swirl. Exactly. Well, hope everybody's doing all right today. What have you done today to help the Jewish people? What have you done today? You ask yourself that question? No, you don't think about that. Chat, you don't care about that. You just go on about your day. You don't think about anyone but yourselves. I get it. Terrible. But hey, we're gonna cover the Israel Day parade.
You don't think about the what you owe to the Jewish people.
Exactly. What are you gonna do?
You have a debt to pay.
Yeah. Speaking of debt to pays, we have a debt to pay because we canceled the Q&A on Sunday. So there will be a patron Q&A today. You will have gotten the call-in link off of the newsletter email that we sent out. So we will be doing a Q&A after party today, postponed from Sunday. And, of course, New York Knicks basketball starts tomorrow night. So this is our last broadcast before
tomorrow?
The start of the finals. That's right. So go Knicks. All right, let's start out with some New York news.
I'm like the Scrooge of sports.
Yes.
When New York is excited about a sports team, I'm just like, bah, humbug.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
The least you could do is die off and make more room on the subway with your ridiculous jerseys.
Yeah, exactly.
I hate it, dude. When I get on a train and you got a bunch of sports fans.
Yeah, it can be pretty obnoxious.
Especially when they're going up to Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, well, you're in Harlem, so you're right on the way, right? If they take the D train.
They take the D, yeah.
Especially if you get,
I hate the Yankees fans. I fucking hate them.
Well, you get the bridge and tunnel people from Penn
Let's
Station.
go,
Yeah.
Yankees! Oh.
Yeah, not good. Believe me, not good. Well, there's less of that on the subway with the Knicks because they're at Madison Square Garden. So the bridge and tunnel people, once they get through the bridge and the tunnel, they're there.
Yeah. I still get it when I'm going downtown.
That's right. When you're going downtown, you still might catch a little of it. Anyway, in honor of the New York Knicks, why don't we start out with a New York City story about the Israel Day Parade?
Yeah, hang on. I got to get back to the first slide. So, folks, those of you who have been with us for a while, I haven't done this for a while because I said, when I did my Star Wars video, I said, that's it. I'm done. I have nothing more to say on that subject, and I stuck to that. So there aren't a lot of culture stories that come up that I feel are worth commenting on. So it's been a very long time since I did a culture story. So I'm doing an Odyssey story, and I totally fell down the rabbit hole. So I was literally working on the show as the countdown was going. So yeah, things are a little vakakta.
All right. So what he's saying is you have a 73-minute Odyssey segment to look for. It's going to be longer than the actual Odyssey. It's going to be longer than the movie.
It's going to be longer than the Odyssey and the Iliad combined.
Yeah. Yeah.
Combined.
We're going to call this episode the Iliad.
But if anything, it probably made the Israel Day Parade segment shorter.
Right. Because
I had to pull stuff because I couldn't execute it the way I'd want to if I included it. Yeah. So it balances out. Mm-hmm. You're going to get 20 minutes on why you're an idiot if you're mad about a black woman playing Helen of Troy. It's going to be like 20 minutes of that, and then I'll move on to talking about the translation.
There you go. There we go.
Helen of Troy was black. Jada Pinkett Smith taught us that. No. I'm kidding. All right. So the New York Post, very outraged. Very outraged. That's kind of their gig. It's kind of their gig. They don't have to disclose the fact that their owner is a close friend of fellow worthless piece of shit Benjamin Netanyahu. They don't have to tell you that when they run stories like this. Ex-mayors join Hochul, Tisch, and thousands at New York City's Israel Parade. And by ex-mayors, he means billionaire Michael Bloomberg, who under his mayoralty it did probably more to destroy New York than any terrorists ever could, advertised it as a luxury product, literally said he wanted New York to be a luxury product for wealthy people, not for working people. So I was one of the people who marched, and criminal Eric Adams, who basically had to agree to help ICE in order to not be prosecuted by the Trump administration. Those are the ex-mayors we're talking about.
And those were some of the nicer people in the parade.
Those were the paragons of virtue.
Yes.
Relative to who they marched with.
Yes.
While no-show Mamdani bizarrely rides bike around town in business suit, no helmet. Now, New York Post is very concerned about safety. I've always known the New York Post to be the kind of outlet to be very concerned about people not wearing bike helmets.
Oh, it wasn't Pride yet, right? Because this was the 31st, so it wasn't.
It's the 31st.
It wasn't
it's
Pride
the day before the beginning of Pride.
I was about to say, man, if it were just one day later, it could have been Pride Month. He could have really trolled them.
He could have really trolled them.
He could have gone to Stonewall. Zoran Mamdani gets wasted at gay bar during Israel Parade.
Zoran Mamdani lights spliff at National Monument outside Stonewall Bar.
Zoran Mamdani sucks cock on Christopher Street during Israel Parade.
Zoran Mamdani wears rainbow knee pads outside former mob bar Stonewall.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm outraged. Are you outraged about that? I'll tell you who's not outraged. Jews for racial and economic justice action. The Israel Day Parade, which features Israeli politicians who have not only cheered on the genocide of Palestinians, but are part of the government committing that genocide, is not a celebration of Jewish identity or pride. The mayor knows this. We're grateful he is not attending. Ali Abunimah. how can all New Yorkers feel safe, especially Muslims and Palestinians, when NYPD police chief, that's Jessica Tisch, lucky girl Jessica Tisch of the wealthy Tisch family, marches with genocidal criminals like Bezalel Smotrich for the same supremacist cause? Would Mayor Mamdani keep a police chief who marched with KKK? Well, that's a good question. That's a good question, why she still has that job. Quds News Network. Despite a fresh ICC arrest warrant request against him, Israel's far-right finance minister, Bezalel Smotrich, marched in the New York. It's funny how close that name is to Beelzebub. It's like they're just rubbing your face in it, right?
Yeah.
Marched in the New York Israel Day parade on Fifth Avenue alongside U.S. politicians and Israeli lawmakers. In defiance of the warrant, he vowed war on Palestinians and ordered the immediate evacuation of Khan al-Ahmar in the occupied West Bank, displacing hundreds as retaliation. Just 3 weeks earlier, he had also joined the Jerusalem Flag March in occupied East Jerusalem, where settlers attacked Palestinians, chanted anti-Arab and Islamophobic slogans, and openly called for another Nakba. Now, we've covered this in the past, how the Israel Day or Israel Flag Day is basically a pogrom day, where these Jewish settlers go out and attack Palestinians, literally go and beat them up in the street. So this parody Jeff, humiliation rituals, Smotrich, ICC warrant fresh on his head, marched proudly in New York's Israel parade beside U.S. officials. War criminals celebrated in broad daylight. Now, somebody did ask him what he thought about the parade. This is what he had to say. What do you think of this year's march? For me, this event reminds me of the Jerusalem Flag March, a big celebration. And there's Hochul.
The people Israel.
All right, we'll see more of that. Okay, so he is directly saying, Smotrich is directly saying it reminds him of the Israel Flag Day. So let's see what that means, what that would mean to Smotrich, that this is like the Israel Flag Day. Go from here, go and die. Racist chants during Israeli flag march. Death to the Arabs. A good Arab is a dead Arab. The second Nakba is on its way. Just wait, it's near. The second Nakba will send you all to refugee camps. Prophet Muhammad is dead. Your religion is rubbish. May your village burn. The Arab is a son of a bitch. Jews are my beloved people. You didn't react to those Israelis who attacked us. There's a Palestinian asking the cops for help. Palestine is dead. There is no Palestine. Arrest the terrorist. Okay. So Smotrich is telling you straight out that this march that the cry bullies are trying to tell you is just a celebration of Jews and Judaism, and it's anti-Semitic for Mamdani not to attend. ICC warrant target, Bezalel Smotrich, straight out said that's what this march reminded him of. So take it from him. Take it from him. He is telling you that this is a Jewish supremacist march. What else could he mean by that? You just saw what that march is like in Israel. But that didn't stop Chucky to Schume. Here is Chuck Schumer very directly connecting Israel and Judaism, much to the detriment of Jews everywhere.
The Holocaust showed the world what Jews have known for millennia, that our security and our safety is never safe as long as we lack a place of refuge, a homeland. To quote the great Irish writer Conor Cruz O'Brien, Anti-Semitism is a light sleeper, and now we are seeing an ugly resurgence of anti-Semitism across the world, driven by the same lies and libels that have tormented the Jewish people for generations, except now they're transmitted at the speed of a fiber optic internet connection. In 30 seconds, lies are on your pocket phone. That's why a Jewish state is more important than ever. Anti-Semitism isn't going away. It always lingers, stalks in the shadows, waiting for the right conditions. For millennia, let them hear that loud and clear. The Jewish people have yearned for a state of Israel, whilst experiencing the constant anxiety of knowing the place where they lived could violently expel them at any moment, has happened again and again. We must not go back to that era. I believe in the state of Israel. I support the state of Israel. If there had been a state of Israel in 1941, dozens of my ancestors would have been able to flee Nazi persecution. So, ladies and gentlemen, whether it's in Israel or in America or around the world, Am Yisrael Chai. The people Israel live. Thank you.
Very often, the circumstances are created for anti-Semitism. Like when you have politicians who have clearly been paid to support the state of Israel, and people start to notice. When people at the speed of a fiber optic cable can see Israeli troops mass murdering women and children, we must have a state of Israel to flee to in order to avoid the repercussions of the actions of the state of Israel. Am Yisrael Chai.
Yeah,
I fixed it for you, Chuck.
Yeah, and you just very quickly, I mean, it's a point we've made in the past, but I think that's a perfect, this is a perfect time to make it in response to that clip. If you really believed all what you're saying, why aren't you in Israel now?
Go.
Like,
leave.
why aren't you there?
Right.
If you think it's so necessary to keep you
Right.
safe, then go. It's
Right.
there. What are you in New York for?
I have always said this. If I believed what Zionists say they believe about Israel, I'd be there.
You'd be there.
No,
Of course.
no
Everybody would be
question.
there.
I would absolutely be there if I thought that's my homeland and my people are in an existential battle.
And it's the only
against
place we're safe,
people who hate
right?
them, and of course
Yeah.
I'd go there.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I? Jesus Christ! Why pay taxes here? I could go there and get the taxes.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
I could get the taxes from the Americans. Why would I stay in America and pay taxes so that my taxes could go to Israel? I go to Israel, I just put out my fishing net and I could get all the American tax money. It's a win-win.
I'll stay here with our Islamo-communist mayor. I feel fine. It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine. Even though we're under a existential threat as a people here, I'm going to stay. Now this is the same Chuck Schumer. We've showed that clip, who dismissed people with absolute contempt who don't believe in the Torah.
Right.
Well, they don't believe in the Torah. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
If you saw a Muslim saying that, or even, I mean, you're talking about Democrats. If you see any Christian signaling like that, they're all over it, right?
Right.
And these people don't believe in Jesus, and that's why they're sinful, right? Oh, look at these bigots, right?
Right.
But it's okay for Schumer to say literally exactly the same thing.
Right.
You're inferior if you don't believe in the Torah. So here are some sane Jews, voice of rabbis. The state of Israel causes Jews constant anxiety by claiming to speak for Jews everywhere. The place where we live here in the United States is safe. Senator Schumer is repeating Zionism's oldest sales pitch that Jews must fear every country except Israel. Millions of Jews lived and thrived around the world long before the state of Israel existed, and still do today. Yes, and something they're never going to want to talk about. It's very hard to even research this or look it up. Look up the Havara Agreement. If anyone does not know about this, the German Zionist organization literally worked with the Nazis, brought Nazi officials to Palestine, the Nazis made a commemorative coin, ran a 12-part series of articles about how they were very happy and proud to work with Jews to find a humane solution to the Jewish problem. And that was very much the rationale for Zionism at its inception. The original Zionists were British. It was what was his name? Lord Shaftesbury. I think I'm getting that wrong. I forget now. There was originally a British lord who was the first one to actually propose that Jews be moved to Palestine because it's a win-win, right? You don't like Jews, you get them out of your country, and at the same time, you get them as a client state. The Nazis were very happy with Zionists, and Zionists were very happy to collaborate with the Nazis. It's a bit of the history that Chucky the Shoom is not going to share with you. Matt Stoller here. Schumer marching in a parade with actual ethnic cleansing organizers he supports is a political scandal. Yeah,
not here,
should
it
be. Not here it isn't.
Deport.
Yeah, so now look, as you all probably know, I'm not a religious man, but every now and then things come up that force me to say, you know, there might be a God. This is one of those things.
Oy. It's funny. I said "oy." That's how you know we're Jew. That's how you know we're not anti-Semitic here. I said "oy vey,
Yeah, yeah. That's what you call an act of God there. Blakely, gravity is Hamas. Yeah. So this is this guy. I never saw this guy before, and all of a sudden he's been popping up in my feed. But he's been dropping some bangers. Is Orange Freddy here? Because you have Zionists walking around. Why are they wearing masks? We don't have to wear masks. And he addresses that.
And I noticed something. Not one person was wearing a mask. Not one person was trying to hide their face.
You don't need masks when you're marching on behalf of the people in power. Israel trains the cops, is supported by nearly everyone in government, and is the global leader in surveillance technology. Needing to wear a mask shows nothing about how strongly you believe in what you're marching for. It merely shows the power of your opponent. Israel's committed horrible war crimes, but it still has the power to have a parade in the biggest city in America and have nearly every politician attend. Meanwhile, the same day, people protesting against inhumane conditions at the Delaney Hall ICE facility got tear gas, which is a chemical weapon according to the Geneva Convention, beat up and arrested. They did a nonviolent protest for a nonviolent cause, but because they don't have any power, they got their asses kicked. Meanwhile, war criminals who are actively still committing war crimes are marching down Fifth Avenue and being celebrated. If you think any of this has to do with justice rather than power, you're either naive or you have no morals left.
Yeah, that's why they have to wear a mask and you don't. Why would you have to wear a mask? Anyone who might persecute you is on your side.
Right, of course.
Yeah, it is Lord Shaftesbury. I was right. I looked that up real quick. Eric Adams, criminal mayor who only got his prosecutions dropped by agreeing to cooperate with ICE, decided that he wasn't enough of a disgrace when he was mayor. He's going to continue to disgrace himself as the ex-mayor. So he made a point of coming out to march, and he dropped a whole video about it.
How's it going, man? So important when you're here marching in the Israeli Day Parade. It shows the level of support that people have for Israel and what it stands for.
When you had to leave office in disgrace and you've become accustomed to a certain income level and you have to sell your ass to the highest bidder, it's good to have a friend in the nation of Israel. It's good to have friends there.
And so we are boycotting anti-Semitism. That's what we're boycotting. We're not going to boycott a country that is clearly our ally. We've never heard Israel say death to America. They supported America. In New York, the largest Jewish population outside of Israel is here in New York. And so when you think about it for a moment, I'm marching today because Jews marched with Dr. King. I'm marching today because the young people in Mississippi during the 60s came from New York. 51% of them were Jewish descended. I'm marching because young Jewish people lost their lives fighting with us. So today, I cannot thank them enough. That's why I'm here in support of Israel.
What's that? Dr. King, Malcolm X, Nelson Mandela all believed Israel was an apartheid state. Enjoy the sunshine. Enjoy the weather, folks. Have a hot dog on me. On your former mayor. Yeah, okay. So Mel here responded to Eric Adams. I bet you were super excited to get so close to an indicted war criminal, huh? Did you guys discuss how he's helping to starve Gaza or ethnically cleanse the West Bank? So there's Eric Adams on the right, just a few feet away from Beelzebub Smotrich there. And he didn't like that. Eric Adams didn't appreciate me highlighting his associate with war criminals. Blocked. Guess he's got more time on his hands now. That he's
it's very online. I didn't realize
very
it was
online to block Mel. So Engo kind of sums up what happened here. So let me get this straight. We sent Israel $3.8 billion a year, $21.7 billion since October 2023, more than any country in American history. AIPAC drops $100 million to take out anyone in Congress who even asks about it. And the regime we're bankrolling has killed tens of thousands in Gaza. And the move is to throw it a parade on Fifth Avenue. Proud Americans, proud Zionists, then run the biggest NYPD operation in the city's history to guard it on our dime. So we pay for the bombs, pay for the lobby that shields it, pay for the cops protecting the party 3 times over for a foreign government. Meanwhile, the subway's held together with tape. Rent's a joke, but yeah, the real scandal is one mayor not showing up to clap. Fuck off. Engo, we're going to give you a job. That is some punchy prose there. Raphael Shumanov, come with me as I learn about each person at the official Israeli delegation at today's Israel Day parade in New York City. These are the people some of my fellow Jewish and other New Yorkers demand Mayor Mamdani stand with today. This is quite a rogues gallery. This is like an Arkham Asylum game when you go through this. This is Itzhak Wasserloff. Here he is coaching IDF, entering Gaza, offering a blessing on the one who seizes babies and dashes them against the rocks. Let's take a look. Because I've received all kinds of comments regarding the issue of Zionism, we are doing before our brief surprise Zionism. I'm about to call a certain minister from the Knesset. We're going to give him a surprise call. You answered, bro. We are doing surprise Zionism here. Are you listening? Yes. Nice. I have here, look, a group of fighters. Amazing group. They're about to fight, to go in with full force. Give me 30 seconds of Zionism. I'm going to time you. Timer, 30 seconds. Surprise minister, it is called. No problem. Can you hear me? Dear and heroic fighters, not only the eyes of the people of Israel look up to you, but also the eyes of generations upon generations who were beaten and humiliated, trampled and killed without the ability to defend themselves. They hoped and dreamed that one day a people will rise from the dust, hold its weapon and strike its enemies. A blessing on the one who seizes your babies and dashes them against the rocks. So said the Psalms poet, and you're the fortunate ones. A blessing on you. So that's one of the lovely people marching here, urging the IDF soldiers to dash babies' heads against the rocks, as the Bible admonishes them to do. We know this guy. Cabinet Minister Amahai Ben Eliyahu, he called on bombing humanitarian aid to Gaza. He called on starving Gazans, and he called on nuking Gaza. A little bit from the article he included. China, Iran, and a multitude of Arab nations condemned an Israeli minister's statement that a nuclear bomb on the Gaza Strip was an option in the Israel-Hamas war, calling it a threat to the world. Yes, is one of the people marching there. Of course, Bezalel Smotrich, he said it may be just and moral to starve 2 million Gaza residents, but no one in the world would let us. He also defined victory after October 7th as Gaza fully destroyed. He is a supporter of Greater Israel, annexing the West Bank and beyond into other nations like Jordan, and believes Palestinians aren't real. Now, this is the really funny part. Speaking of parades, in Israel, he organized the anti-LGBTQ parade called Beast March, claiming the farm animals they forced to march had less sin than queer people. Hang on, I thought this is the place that is so accepting. I thought this is like their core rationale, right? The gay people can live their lives in Israel, unlike these Arab countries. And, you know, here they are. Here they are marching with this guy who literally organized a parade marching animals. The point being that they're better than gay people.
No.
Where are all these liberal Democrats that marched with him to speak out against that? I thought Israel was so gay friendly. Turns out an ethno-supremacist theocracy based on a 2,500-year-old collection of mythology, it's not all that liberal about gay rights. Yeah. Who knew? Who knew? This is Ariel Kellner. Whoever remains in the North, we will truly starve them. That's a quote from him. Another quote. One goal, Nakba. A Nakba will overshadow the Nakba of 48. A Nakba in Gaza and a Nakba for anyone who dares to join. He was one of 8 officials who signed a letter demanding the elimination of all food and power sources in Gaza. This is Amir Ohana, Speaker of Israeli Knesset. Ohana praised Donald Trump's proposal to relocate Gazans and redevelop Gaza, calling it a, quote, bold new vision for Gaza and a fresh perspective. If you want a Palestinian state, build it in London or Paris. Signed petition for annexation of West Bank. These aren't the only criminals you had running around. During the Israel parade in New York City, this is Abu Bakr Abed, and actually the screenshot he grabbed, that's Caleb, did a video. He was out there. During the Israel parade in NYC, the Golani Battalion's flag of the Israeli army was raised. It is the one that slaughtered the 15 paramedics in Rafah and buried them in the most heinous crime in our lifetime, let alone its history. That's overstating it a bit, but it was a pretty horrific crime. This is terrorism incitement, not free speech. Hey, some other hits. This is from Dropside News. Some other hits from the Golani Brigade. Other things they're known for. Israeli sniper Don Elias from the 51st Battalion shared a picture of himself burning a Palestinian house in Gaza City on January 15th. Israeli soldiers from the 51st Golani Battalion set fire to homes and shops belonging to the Harani family in the Wadi neighborhood south of the town. Israeli soldiers from the Golani Brigade's 51st Battalion burned Lebanese money while others looted it during their invasion of the village today. Finally, not all of the goons were Israeli officials. Behind former Mayor Adams is his NYPD detail, Detective Elvis Montalvo. Montalvo has over $42,000 in settlements paid to victims of his police conduct. Last year, he made almost $250,000, and he's seen with the former mayor all over the world. You know, it's like the scene in Breaking Bad where Jesse says, you know, what we need isn't a criminal attorney. We need a criminal attorney. See, if you're Eric Adams, you need a criminal for a bodyguard who's going to look the other way on the fact that you're a criminal. But hey, another one undisturbed by any of this. Dan Goldman, crowd to walk today in the 62nd Israel Day parade to celebrate the state of Israel, the only Jewish nation in the world. Now, he had a debate with Brad Lander. That is one of the things that got sacrificed today by my going down the rabbit hole on the Odyssey. But he denied in that debate that he knew Smotrich was going to be there. Israel announced in advance who was going to be there, and he was a grand marshal of the parade. Now he's trying to say he didn't know. A few of them are trying to say that.
Before you as a proud Jew and a proud Zionist. And those of us who feel that way can never waver. It should not be momentous to say that, but unfortunately, in many ways today it is. And we have to stand strong.
Yeah.
And we have to stand with each other. And we have to stand with our allies who are all against hate. The rise of anti-Semitism is scary. It's obviously scary for the Jewish community. Swastikas are now routinely painted and put
Where?
on
Yeah, no, I
Jewish
run
homes
into
and
them
institutions.
on my way to the gym, yeah.
It cannot be normalized. But we also have to recognize that history has shown us that anti-Semitism does not end with Jews. It is hate. And it may be Jews today, but it will be others tomorrow. And so we must stand together.
Look,
against
I know
hate
you all hate us.
Of all
but
kinds.
let me explain how this is going to affect you.
Of every single kind. And that is what I am trying to do in Congress. I'm the co-chair of the Bipartisan Task Force to Combat Anti-Semitism. And next week, I'll be introducing on the House side a bill called the Jewish American Security Act, which is a bipartisan bill that we are optimistic will actually get passed.
Because our internal polling shows that there's nothing better for combating anti-Semitism than creating carve-out exceptions to freedom of speech specifically for Jews.
Yeah.
And that's why we're going to pass this bill.
Handicap parking spaces will be available to Jewish Americans.
Jews only.
If you put a Star of David bumper sticker on your car, you can park in a handicap space without the proper handicap sticker, and you
Also
will not be penalized.
Christian Zionists as well, but only for motorcycles and scooters.
Yeah.
So Brad Lander is running against Lucky Boy Dan Goldman, heir to the Levi fortune. We're both proud Jewish New Yorkers, but there are sharp and clear differences between us on Israel-Palestine. For example, Dan Goldman marched alongside war criminal Beelzebub Smotrich, he didn't say Beelzebub, who called it just and moral to starve Gaza. I did not. Now, in the clips that I watched of this debate, you got to remember Brad Lander, yeah, he's better than Dan Goldman, but he's a liberal Zionist. Like, I don't really understand how you say the things that he said in that debate, that Israel's committing genocide, that the Palestinians have a right to self-determination, and you still believe that Israel has a right to be a Jewish supremacist state. I don't know how you square that circle. I mean, I do. They mind trick themselves into thinking there's a world where an ethno-supremacist Jewish state can coexist with Palestinian self-determination. And they just they do the Bernie thing with the question of Palestinian rights. Well, then there wouldn't be a Jewish state, right? They fall back on, well, what about all these Muslim states? There are all these Muslim states. Shouldn't there be a Jewish state? Well, if you're going to argue that what Israel is not an inevitable byproduct of what its core premises are, you're fooling yourself. And Brad Lander is definitely someone who fools himself.
I think we can give. I think if the Jews need a state, I think a good option that's emerged in recent weeks is we should just move them into Kentucky's 4th district there.
There you go.
Let them live
Clearly,
in
they're very
northern
welcome.
Kentucky. Clearly, they're very welcome. There's space there. You know, Israel's not a big state. Kentucky's pretty mild climate. There you go. Boom.
I mean, not to go too far afield, but in reality, the fact is, if Jews at the end of the Holocaust were going to be paid reparations with land, they should have been given the freaking Rhine. They weren't going to do that to white people.
Right.
That's it. They no matter whatever the Germans did, they weren't going to do that to Germany. Right. They put it on brown people who had nothing to do with the Holocaust whatsoever. And forever after, they've been casting them as an extension of the Nazis, even though they had absolutely nothing to do with these crimes and lived peacefully with Jews for thousands of years before they started stealing their land.
Right. Exactly.
So lucky girl Jessica Tisch here knows how many of these Zionists are lucky boys and lucky girls. You knows how many of them are very privileged people born to wealth. Beautiful day marching up Fifth Avenue with Mike Bloomberg for the annual Israel Day Parade. The NYPD was not messing around with security. This was the most extensive security plan that the NYPD has ever put together for this event so that everyone could celebrate safely. Thank you to every member of the NYPD that was out today protecting our city. Gen X girl. This for a parade celebrating a genocidal foreign country and members of their government who are wanted for war crimes. Yeah, funny how they avoid this. See, this is the disgusting hypocrisy of Democrats, right? They want to scream about black and brown people, including people like Letitia James, right? You know, these are the people who want you to deeply care, fairly enough, about Black History Month, but then you're going to go up there and march with war criminals who are killing a bunch of brown people, right? It's all about power. About where you are in the power structure. Today, I was proud to join New York's Jewish communities at the Israel Day Parade to celebrate culture, history, resilience, and the deep ties that bind our communities together. Wow, that's fucking disgusting, man. That's disgusting. Mark Suster, the mayor is a coward and a hater. First sitting mayor not to attend in 60 years since the march was founded in 1964. Am Yisrael Hai. As you can imagine, the Zionists are having a meltdown. You want to see a meltdown? This is the little Instagram clip that praying mantis Lizzie Savetsky put out about this.
You ready to go to the parade?
I'm ready, but I invited a new couple. They just moved into the neighborhood. They love Israel.
Oh,
Lizzie,
amazing. Oh.
meet our new friends.
The name is Mamdani.
Mamdani, you're in my house.
All right, that's child abuse, man.
Yeah.
I think Mamdani really needs to send city services and get this kid out of there. look what they're turning this child into, you know, and then he's going to grow up to be a disgusting pile of excrement like his mother. And can you look how he was raised?
Right.
I'm sure she was raised that way too. You know, somebody has to stop the cycle of violence here. Somebody has to put a stop to it. I think we need to start taking away the children of Zionists. I think that's what we should pitch to Mamdani as part of his platform. So Yehuda Teitelbaum, he's Italian, this guy. Here's a list of parades attended by Zoran Mamdani, which, I mean, this is just the stupidest fucking thing. Oh my God, these people are so up their own ass. St. Patrick's Day, Pakistan Day, Lunar New Year Parade, Puerto Rican Day, Dominican Day, Bangladesh, Sikh Day, West Indian, African American Day, Pride Parade. Here's a list of parades deliberately not attended by Zoran Mamdani. Israel Day Parade. To be clear, I don't want him there, but don't tell me that this man doesn't straight up hate Jews. Oh, well, so no difference between these parades and Israel Day or any of these genocidal apartheid states that the United States funds for its genocide? Any? No. Okay. All right. And finally, the great Caitlin Johnston. If 50,000 people attended a march with Bezalel Smotrich in New York City, the New York City just had a Nazi rally attended by 50,000 people. And she's absolutely right. And there is no doubt in my mind that that is how history will remember this. I think, you want a little white pill for the day. Yeah, history is going to be shocked and horrified the way we are today that they had a Nazi rally at Madison Square Garden. People are just shocked that you could have that in the middle of New York City back in the 30s with Lindbergh was one of the speakers, Charles Lindbergh. That's how people will see this one day. They're going to be shocked
worse.
that you could have war criminals like Smotrich walking down Fifth Avenue and have these supposedly liberal politicians like Letitia James, like Chuck Schumer, walk with them as if they are in the moral position. They're standing on the moral high ground, and the mayor who refused to take part in such a thing, he's the one who's out of line. People will be shocked at this conversation in the future. I'm sure of it.
Well, I mean, most people are shocked by it now, I think, and I think in the not too distant future, it'll be, the overwhelming majority point of view on this.
It already is. It already is. I mean, that's why Mamdani is historically popular. Like, these people represent a very vocal minority. There are a lot of them in New York because of the unique history of immigration patterns here, where you just happen to have more Jews, and over 80% of Jews are Zionists. And because of the controversy this year, they were highly motivated to show up to this parade in a way that they haven't in years past. You're still only talking about 50,000 people in a city of 8 million people.
Right. Yes. And, in a way, it's even more shocking than the Nazi rally at Madison Square Garden in the sense that, every liberal politician in good standing was expected to come to this, right?
Right.
When the Nazis rallied at Madison Square Garden, the mayor wasn't under any pressure to show up and endorse it. And how dare you, right? How dare you disrespect the German community by not showing up at this rally? No, it is. It's just absolutely ridiculous. I remember when the Israel Day Parade would happen once a year back when I was living in New York, because I used to give tours right down Fifth Avenue where it goes. And we'd always have to cancel them for the Israel Day march. And so, I was always aware of this even before I, understood really what Israel was. I've come into contact with this parade. And yeah, there's always been really intense security. Obviously, most police deployments to any event in the city's history. But funny, at least no high-profile arrests or any high-profile confrontations with the cops there. It's funny because, they like to scare people about how threatening the pro-Palestine protesters were, about how the students were intimidating Jewish students who didn't feel safe on their campus. Okay, so why weren't there any violent incidents at this? The dissonance is just it's not sustainable. They are just never going to be able to maintain this double talk that they have tried to maintain for many years, but it's all coming apart. I mean, it's so absurd. It's just so absurd. There's almost nothing worth saying about it. How Chuck Schumer could stand up there, I'm Yisrael High, after all this. I mean, as we speak, literally as we speak, Israel is refusing to let us out of a war. Refusing to let us out of a war that can get us all killed.
All right.
You're standing up there, I'm Yisrael High. I mean, it's a joke. I mean, honestly, it kind of leaves you a little bit speechless. Like, the absurdity kind of speaks for itself.
Right. And Mamdani is easily the most popular mayor of my lifetime. I've never seen anything like it. The other day I take a weekly bike ride down to the Battery. That's most of Manhattan, Harlem to the Battery. So I cover a lot of ground. They're selling Mamdani merch at Union Square.
Right.
That has never happened in the history of New York City. And they're doing a brisk business. I interviewed the guys who ran it. I'll drop that video here on my channel. We'll figure it out. But in the time I was interviewing them, and it was a short interview, like 3 or 4 minutes, they made 3 sales.
Yeah.
And it wasn't busy. It was a weekday. Like, people want these, they're buying shirts, they're buying onesies, they're buying flags. That's set aside whatever you think about Mamdani. Mamdani is an avatar for this, pro-Palestine position in the minds of the public. The fact that he is that popular tells you that's good politics, and that's part of what makes their position unsustainable. You're not, unless you just, and I think they're planning this, unless you just go full police state, you can't stop that momentum.
Right. Exactly. All right. Let's go to some Rumble Rants and some Super Chats here. We got 1761 strong in the YouTube chat, 500 even in the Rumble chat. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Let's smash that like button. We're at 495. Let's get up over that 666, please, and thank you. Nocturnal Humans says, Hasan banned. That's shocking, dog. Ha, good one. I get it. Vientikis says, I K9 believe Hasan was banned. Ha, I get that one too, Vientikis. Thank you. Eric Rousseau, Larry Johnson says his sources tell him that Iran has already has nukes and will test one in Iran desert. They got help from a nearby nuclear state.
I saw that rumored.
Yeah, Larry Johnson is the guy on, he's the guy with the gray hair, right? And the Hawaiian shirts. Does he wear Hawaiian shirts?
I don't know.
I think so. I like that guy's whole thing he's got going on. Vientikis, speaking of nearby states, how about that weather in China? You got over 120 degrees in Guangdong, and in the northeast, you got an apocalyptic dust tornado. Is that true?
Is that true? They told me when I was in Xinjiang in the Uyghur country that they get horrible dust storms, and my guide showed me pictures of it, videos of it. Yeah, man, like they get life-threatening dust storms up there.
Wow. Vientikis, also everything's a scam, everything's a lie, everything's hypocrisy, and so you don't comply. Now eat your bacon. Thank you. Eric Rousseau, when Laura Loomer blew Trump, did she at least change his diapers afterwards? Diaper Don. Ha. Thank you, Eric Rousseau. Oh, George. Fine, Vientikis, I will go to the Russian market and buy pig. Thanks for letting us off the hook. Ha. Didn't have to twist his arm there in Haifa. Thank you, oh, George. Eric Rousseau, 5 biggest cults in America: Republican Party, Democrat Party, Zionism, dispensationalism, and American exceptionalism. Good one, Eric Rousseau. Thank you for that. Vientikis, that's right, oh George. Bacon is love, bacon is life. All hair, the porcine glory. Yield your soul to its exquisite nature. It's time for a new religion, a bacon religion. Namaste, huh? Got it. Bacon blessings be upon you all. Blessed be the bacon faithful. Abiding. Notes from a bunker. Wish I could afford Argentina when Samson option pops off. Instead, I'm finishing my book in buried shipping container, pissing in jugs, and eating out of cans. Thank you. Thank you, Corn Pop. All right. The third man, thanks for the $10. Russell Dick Perry played the saxophone on the Dark Side of the Moon, passed away last week. Live Dick Perry. Yeah, I saw that.
And that is an album where the saxophone work really stands out.
Yes, indeed. Raven Laz, knock, you can grow your hair long. You're like the Jewish He-Man. Heeb-Man. Ha, good one. Oh, yeah, speaking of music, what did I do? Is my stuff up there? Yeah, I got to put my link on there. I just put a review of the new Paul McCartney album on the Shuffle Pod, so go check that out.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, it sucks.
No, it's not bad. It's actually it's pretty good. Actually, it's one of his better ones of this century. Yeah, better than like this previous stuff in the 21st century. Yeah, I didn't think it was great, but I thought it was pretty good. Got that one.
As a beat, you can dance to it.
Yeah, I mean it's a little quieter because it's reflective. It's It's his memoir of an album.
It says I could die any day.
The day
album.
before, yeah, exactly. About the days before he became famous and stuff. You know, I was never a huge fan of the McCartney solo stuff. I mean, there's like good songs. Like you could put together like the collection, like the Wings greatest hits, and actually the Wings live album I think is really good because you take the best songs from all the albums, and Paul is very good on stage. So, but in terms of albums, like there were no like masterpiece albums that Wings put out, in my opinion.
No.
And some of them were quite lousy, actually. Like
I mean,
really
Linda's tambourine work was pretty impressive.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Vientikis, our He-Man sidekick's going to be Darko Matsola because she'll be flat and Goya at arms, huh? Thank you, Vientikis. You're on a roll today, my friend. Scuffy Swamp Yankee says, keep up the good work, guys. Sorry I missed your coverage of the 250th last stream. Revolutionary War is my bread and butter. Well, it didn't happen yet. Don't worry. We just covered Milli Vanilli dropping out and Vanilla Ice saying, you know, he'll be there. If you send the money, he'll be there. But, of course, the 250th anniversary is 1 month out. 1 month out. Eric Rousseau says, I was excited to see the Israel dog grape float and the Epstein PDF float. Isn't America grand? That's right. Eric Rousseau says, Zionism requires blood sacrifices. Vientikis Prime says, jokes on Chuck Schumer. Hateful people are too poor to have fiber optic internet. Thank you, Vientikis. Appreciate that very much. All right, we will move right on along here. Once again, folks, please do smash that like button. Please do smash that subscribe button. Yeah, Ram is good, but Ram is not Wings. Ram was solo. That was him and the wife. So, yes. No, he's done some good solo work. Just I don't think there's any iconic McCartney solo albums. All right, let's move right on along here. Okay, so we have some foreign policy news that we have to catch everybody up on, of course. Israel's genocidal campaign in Lebanon was almost the subject of a standalone segment, but now we have war developments hinging on the supposed Lebanon ceasefire with Israel. But just to catch everybody up here, Israel seizes a medieval castle as it expands major offensive in southern Lebanon. Lebanon's World Heritage Sites endangered amid ongoing war. Yeah, these are some of the oldest cities known to man. So, Power to the People tweets out, breaking news, Iran has suspended peace talks with the United States after Israel's continued bombing of Lebanon. Benjamin Netanyahu and the genocidal state of Israel have once again killed any chance of peace. This was tweeted out back on June 1st. Here's a video, major Israeli attack on the city of Tyre. Looks a lot like Gaza, doesn't it? Now, this is one of the oldest living cities on Earth. This is almost 5,000 years old. This dates back to about 2700 BC.
Yep.
But, you know, our greatest ally is going to claim this, and they're going to build, you know, Burger Kings and strip malls, so it'll look like, you know, suburbia here in the U.S., because that is progress, right?
I mean, it's just horrible. There's one of these just cities of legend and myth that come up in ancient poetry and playwriting. Just Yep. Clear the way for the gay bars and the yoga studios and the fast food chains because hey, they're our aircraft carrier, and this is all going to be theirs, which means by extension, I guess, it will all be ours if they have their way. So that's what's been going on in Lebanon, and Donald Trump trying to wiggle out of this war that he got allegedly blackmailed into. Some people are saying, a lot of very smart people are saying that. He tweets out, I had a very productive call with Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu of Israel, and there will be no troops going to Beirut, and any troops that are on their way have already been turned back. So yes, Israel was threatening to invade Beirut, Lebanon.
Likewise, through highly placed representatives, I had a very good call with Hezbollah, and they agreed that all shooting will stop, that Israel will not attack them, and they will not attack Israel. President Donald J. Trump. Yes. And then I led a sing-along of Give Peace a Chance, and we all lived happily ever after. Art of the deal. So, right after Trump tweets this out, Itamar Ben-Gvir, the national security minister, tweets out, Mr. Prime Minister, meaning Netanyahu, of course, you said that a strong prime minister tells the president of the United States yes when possible and no when necessary. This is the time to tell our friend President Trump no. You should say this is the time to tell our son, President Trump, no. Now is the time to do what is required and necessary to strike Hezbollah, to unleash the hands of our fighters, and to restore security to the north. Now,
and if that doesn't work, remind him we have the tapes.
Exactly, yes. Now, this guy, Baruch Marcel, says President Trump, Israel is a sovereign and independent nation, not the 51st star on the American flag. Israel's security decisions should be made in Jerusalem based on the interests and security needs of its own citizens. The balls on these people is just unbelievable.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Like, yeah, they're the greatest ally we've ever had as long as they do what we want. When they start, expressing their desires to perhaps wind down a war before it turns into World War III, that's when we have to remind them, hey, we're a sovereign and independent nation. So, obviously, the retort hidden in plain sight here from B-Man says, great, fight your own fucking wars. Exactly. Yeah, you want to be treated as a sovereign, independent state? I'd be totally for that at this point. I would say, there's a clear off-ramp here at this point. Now that there's been this sort of supposed rift over Lebanon. If what you're saying is true, and this is an expression of your wishes, why can't we just tell the Iranians, okay, look, we have a deal, meaning the U.S. and Iran, we have a deal. Israel, unfortunately, doesn't want to be part of it because they want to keep bombing Lebanon. But we're not going to have anything to do with that. So you deal with them however you have to. We won't get involved either way. But you and I have a deal. We could do that if what this guy's saying is an expression of the wishes of Israel. But of course, they don't want that. They want us to support them and do exactly what they want. And oddly enough, they don't want America acting as a sovereign state. They want us acting as their junkyard dog.
Right.
When we express any independence from them, that's when they remind us, hey, we're independent of you. If you're independent of us, then good fucking luck at this point. Good luck at this point. I think most Americans would be thrilled if Donald Trump came out and said, we have a deal with Iran. Israel doesn't want to be a part of it. And so that's going to be between Iran and Israel. May the best country win. I think Americans would go for that 90-10. But, of course, that can't happen. So Benjamin Netanyahu tweets out an hour after, tonight I spoke with President Trump and told him that if Hezbollah does not cease attacking our cities and citizens, Israel will attack terror targets in Beirut. Well, that seems to directly contradict what Donald Trump just tweeted out a couple hours earlier. This stance of ours remains unchanged. In parallel, the IDF will continue to operate as planned in southern Lebanon. So, Axios, now, H.A. Axios, we're going to call it, Trump reins in Netanyahu. Trump reins in Netanyahu over Lebanon after Iran threatens to quit the talks. Because don't forget, on Sunday, they said, all right, all talks are canceled because Israel will not stop attacking Lebanon. And apparently, according to H.A. Axios, this got heated. You're fucking crazy. Trump fumes at Netanyahu in call on Lebanon. President Trump lashed out at Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over Israel's escalation in Lebanon in an expletive-laden call on Monday. 2 U.S. officials and a third source briefed on the call told Axios. Earlier on Monday, Iran threatened to abandon the negotiations with the U.S. over Israel's actions in Lebanon. On the call, Trump called Netanyahu crazy and accused him of ingratitude, according to 2 of the sources. He also put the brakes on Israel's plan to strike Beirut. 1 U.S. official said Trump told Netanyahu that following through on his threats to bomb the Lebanese capital would further isolate Israel around the world. Two of the sources said Trump claimed he'd help keep Netanyahu out of jail, a reference to his support during Netanyahu's corruption trial. Summarizing Trump's remarks to Netanyahu, the U.S. official said, "You're fucking crazy. You'd be in prison if it weren't for me. I'm saving your ass. Everybody hates you now. Everybody hates Israel because of this." A second source briefed on the call said Trump was pissed and at one point yelled at Netanyahu, "What the fuck are you doing?" So Mark Caputo, who co-authored that Axios piece, because Barak Ravid, the main Axios journalist who's been putting out all of these reports here, was one of the bylines, but the second was Mark Caputo. So here he is on Morning Joe this morning, substantiating that reporting, quote unquote.
Over the weekend, my colleague Barak Ravid and I had written a story about Trump sending back an edit, an addition to a peace deal with Iran, and they were hoping to get an answer in a few days. And in the course of reporting that out, we were told by the administration, by administration officials, that Israel, that Netanyahu wanted a component concerning Lebanon in there, and that Trump had rebuffed him, thinking that that was just sort of an added feature that would have sort of bogged down the talks. And then the next day, this massive bombing campaign erupts. And from what we're told, in Trump's mind, they felt that this was Netanyahu sort of saying, well, I'm not going to get my way. I'm sort of going to bomb my way to your attention. And it really, really bothered President Trump, we're told. And yesterday in the early afternoon, Trump got him on the horn, Prime Minister Netanyahu, and just lit into him and sort of let him know that this is unacceptable in Trump's view. Now,
okay, so there you have it. Now, this is not a paid sponsorship, folks. This is more an announcement that I have decided to start raising money for a bridge that I'm building. So I'm taking investments on that bridge. I think there's going to be great ROI on this bridge investment.
Yes.
I'm calling this bridge the Piers Morgan Bridge. Okay, that's what I'm calling this bridge. So anybody who wants to invest in the Piers Morgan Bridge, just, send us an email and we'll talk. In honor of Piers Morgan here. Wow, President Trump seems to have finally seen through Netanyahu. Yeah, that's what's going that's what's going on here. Once again, folks, if you'd like to invest in the Piers Morgan Bridge, send us an email and we'll talk, because that's about as absurd a reaction as you could give to this news here. And so I think we should name our bridge after Piers Morgan. If we're selling bridges, we should name it the Piers Morgan Bridge.
Well, the Biden administration did this too. Biden's very angry at Netanyahu to try to feign some independence from Israel. It's nonsense.
Yeah.
If you really felt that way, you turn around and say, yeah, you're not getting any more aid.
Exactly.
No more. We're done.
Exactly. Obviously. Cheeseburger says this is like the fifth fake fight between them, and they always end with Trump doing exactly what Netanyahu wants, like a good boy. Cheeseburger, you're fucking up our bridge. You're fucking up our bridge here. Okay, now we're not going to.
I'm sure I don't even have to look to know that the ex-grifters are full of holy smokes and holy cow and holy crap posts.
What?
Trump put Bibi in his place. Holy smokes.
Holy smokes. That's right. Well, one guy who really didn't like this news is Mark Levin. The leak in Axios was a violation of federal law and provided support to the Iranian regime and its Hezbollah proxy. Whomever leaked that story to Barak Ravid at Axios did a grave disservice to our country, to our president, to Israel, and Israel's prime minister. The Iranian regime will benefit from that leak, viewing us as weak and desperate for a deal, even coming to Hezbollah's defense. The Israeli people will also be furious. The missiles are aimed at them, not Washington. And for 100 other reasons, what was thought to be a devastating political hit on Netanyahu by the leakers about a private call between heads of state has done much damage to us and our military and our diplomatic strategy. And if the leakers or others believe Israel should abandon its survival for some deal, they will have a very hard lesson to learn. If the substance of the call is accurate, it is bad enough in my view. Will there be an FBI investigation to determine who leaked? If not, why not? Man, I miss the days when Mark Levin was just like an irrelevant afterthought in the mostly obsolete conservative media space, like terrestrial radio and TV. You know, to think that like this guy has more power in our government than most people in the government is just really terrifying. And Mark Levin, this is not an exaggeration. Mark Levin greatly prefers Israel to the United States.
Of
Greatly
course.
prefers Israel to the United States.
Well, I mean, all Zionists do.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of core to being a Zionist. If you cared more about the United States, you wouldn't be a Zionist.
Right.
Even if you believe Israel has a right to have an apartheid state, you would see the damage it causes to America to be part of that project, and you'd be against American involvement.
Right. Of course. Of course. And so, got to lighten the mood a little bit here. Daily response to Mark Levin show on behalf of Americans tweets snipe the hype.
Levin talks about this country, he should be deported. Not because you're Jewish, not because you're fat, not because you're gay, not because you're a pussy. Mark Levin should be deported because of the way he talks about this country. Where does he get off? The way he says, it's only off the table if we say so. Who the fuck do you think you are? You whiny, grating, odious, disgusting, fat piece of shit traitor. Where do you get off? Damn you.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, that's one man's opinion. On a slightly more serious note here, here's some, I think, good analysis from Noodles. Why would Levin, a friend to both men, this is not the entire response. As you can see, it's quite long. I picked the most relevant parts, I thought. Why would Levin, a friend to both men, meaning Netanyahu and Trump, confirm the most explosive account of their relationship ever published? Because it serves both. Trump gets to look tough, not Netanyahu's puppet, willing to put Israel in its place. His base loves it. Netanyahu gets cover. He paused, quote-unquote, the Beirut strike, but not because Iran threatened him, because his friend asked him to. His base loves it too. And look at what actually changed on the ground. Nothing. Exactly. Israel canceled the Beirut strike, but the ground invasion of Lebanon continues. The IDF is still miles deep. A soldier died today from a Hezbollah drone. Netanyahu's office said position unchanged. The performance was perfect. Trump gets the headline, Netanyahu gets the cover. The deal gets another 48 hours of progress. Markets get a reason to breathe, and the war continues exactly as planned. This is the same playbook. Every time public opinion turns against the war, a story appears showing the U.S. president is quote-unquote furious with Israel. It creates the illusion of restraint while changing nothing. Biden was furious for 14 months. The war never stopped. Trump is furious now. The ground invasion is expanding. The visible game is Trump controls Netanyahu. The real game is both men are performing for their audiences while the machine moves forward. Nothing has been signed. Nothing has stopped. The war is not winding down. It is being managed. Neither one controls the other. They walk arm in arm. Know that. Okay, so that's one point of view. We got Fuentes' point of view. Here's Thomas Massey's point of view. He says it's all talk. Just withhold foreign aid to Israel for a month, and they'll stop bombing their neighbors. Instant peace, the Strait of Hormuz can be opened, and gas drops $2 a gallon. Israel has been and continues to be the biggest welfare recipient from American taxpayers, and of course, from right before we went on air, Israel strikes South Lebanon after stepping back from Beirut attack. So the Israel-Lebanon campaign goes on, as Noodles tweeted there. So there's, been a lot of speculation on X as to the validity of the reporting at all, which would cast doubt on the truth of whether or not Trump actually had this screaming match with Netanyahu. And I can certainly understand the speculation about that because we've seen how many reports from Axios now saying what's about to happen and nothing happens, right? So, of course, it's natural to start questioning the specifics of the reporting. whether or not that reporting is truthful, I think what Massey's take there, what Massey tweeted there, is the ultimate take. Like, I think it's quite possible that Trump cursed at Netanyahu. I think that's totally possible because I don't think Trump likes Netanyahu, and I don't think Netanyahu likes Trump. I'm sure it's a tense arrangement, and I'm sure there are moments where Trump, asshole that he is, loses his temper and forgets to play his role. There was tension between Netanyahu and Obama, Netanyahu and Biden. Nobody likes the Israelis. The Israelis don't like anybody. So is it believable to me that tensions boiled over and they had a bit of a screaming match? Yeah. The ultimate point is that it doesn't change anything. It doesn't change anything. And if the reporting is true that they had a screaming match, it is actually, to people who don't have their head up their ass, more indicative of the strong grip that Israel has over the United States and specifically Donald Trump. Because if you know anything about Donald Trump, you know that he's essentially assholed his way out of every relationship he's ever had. I mean, just about everybody who gets close to him ends up an enemy of his. And so why is it that after this alleged screaming match takes place, we're still allowing them to go and bomb Lebanon and sabotage this peace deal? In other words, should this reporting be accurate and Netanyahu and Trump really did come to blows, given what has happened in the immediate aftermath of that argument, it's actually more indicative of Israeli control over the U.S. Because if they really had it out, that could have been the thing that severed the relationship. That's why we said during the campaign, stupidly, embarrassingly at this point in hindsight, hey, Trump, there's that wild card factor because Trump is such an asshole that he might get into a fight with Netanyahu and that could, finally result in the United States cutting ties with Israel. Wow, what Trumps we were to be talking like that. I'll own that L. That's my L. I'll take that all day, every day. But you see, if and when something does come to blows, it has no effect on policy. And so the ultimate take is, whether this happened or not, the fact that it's all talk proves that the relationship is unchanged and that the war is going on. Now, is there some sort of strategy in place? Marco Rubio's taking questions on the Capitol Hill as we speak right now, insisting that the war is over. No, it's over, it's over, it's over. Could we be just buying the Israelis time to take as much of Lebanon as they can? In other words, keep the stalemate with Iran going and just during those negotiations, just have Israel cut as deep into Lebanon as they can? That's one possible explanation. Of course, we're always 10 steps behind these things because we're not in the room. But either way, as it pertains to this reporting, the plan for now seems unchanged.
Yeah, this is just the chum that they throw out to the public to give them an illusion of democracy and the illusion that there's some kind of push-pull going on. Yeah, absolutely right. America and Israel are in lockstep. The only question is, does Donald Trump understand how little control he has? In which case, if he doesn't entirely understand that, yeah, maybe he would start cursing at Netanyahu, or maybe he does understand it, and it's so humiliating that he has moments of frustration where he starts, shooting his mouth off like he has some kind of control. But yeah, this was the same with Biden. Biden is very angry at Netanyahu. It's just nonsense. They just throw this up. It's like when you watch a TV show where they can't kill off the protagonist because they'd have no show. But they float as if that could happen, right? And you suspend your disbelief, right? It's because otherwise it wouldn't be any fun to watch. Like the hero's really in danger, right? That's what these news stories are. Oh yeah, no, something might change in the America-Israel dynamic, and it's not. It's not going to. It's just a distraction for the public so that to avoid the conversation of how little control America actually has in what's theoretically a client state relationship. Clearly something changed. You get a lot of people, and respectable people like Brian Berletic, who will say the idea that Israel is in control of this relationship is a complete misreading. Okay, but you know what? There's a history of American presidents all the way down into Reagan and even to some extent to Barack Obama setting limits on Israel, or basically telling, in the case of Reagan, basically telling the Israelis to fuck off.
They all did. Every single one of them did.
Well, I'm not just talking about Iran. I mean, there were other
that's a
things
major
where,
limit.
sure, but there were other things where presidents, it clearly got worse and worse over time. Because you go back to Truman, who didn't like them at all and was very open about it. And, you've got Kennedy. Some people speculate that's part of what got him whacked, not wanting them to have nukes. And Reagan reprimanded them. It's hard to imagine anyone dealing with them the way that Reagan did at this point. What changed? Like, clearly, I would say objectively, empirically, if you look at the trajectory, you're talking about what was theoretically a client state that over time metastasized within the American government like a cancer, played a very long game of getting hooks into politicians by funding races, using very wealthy proxies from the diaspora like the Ellisons to give them the kind of money they would need to buy out all of these strategic seats in the American government. Until now, what is supposed to be your client has become your master. And with Donald Trump, with the Epstein files, we don't know. I think it's very unlikely that the Israelis don't have shit on him that it gives them enormous control, because of the way that Donald Trump is temperamentally, it's hard to explain why he would be humiliated like this by the Israelis if there wasn't an extra factor. He is not from inside the national security establishment. He's not an insider politician where his brain has been massaged into Jake Sullivan logic about Israel. In fact, it's pretty clear that he doesn't think that way, and he recognizes how bad this relationship is for the United States. So why would he allow himself to be used in this way? It's hard to believe they don't have something on him that he just can't have come out.
Yeah, and to me, when you put the pieces together, it looks more like Israel wants this so much more than Donald Trump wants this. If we were just in lockstep and really just working hand in glove with Israel, and there were no tension behind the scenes, if all of that were just a show, why did the 12-day war end at 12 days? Because there was a much more plausible justification to continue it back then. We got to get to the nuclear weapons, right? We got to get their nuclear material, and this is our operation, and we're not leaving until it's taken care of. Why is it that after that 12-day war, Trump insisted that their program had been completely obliterated, which, of course, undermines the rationale for this operation now? It makes no sense. It makes no sense. You already had the war started. Why would you stop? Why was Donald Trump insisting that we've won and that their programs have been completely knocked out? That is his way of begging the Israelis through the media to get their boot off his neck. And this is not to exonerate Donald Trump. This is not to make excuses for Donald Trump. He's the president of the United States. The buck stops with him. If he's compromised by Israel, it's his own fault for doing whatever they got on him, right? So none of this is an exoneration of Trump. None of this is apologizing for Trump. It's just, this is so clearly the truth as I see it. We can only tell you the truth as we see it. Is it possible we're wrong? Sure, but that seems very, very unlikely. Very unlikely. This reporting, whether it's true or not, gives Donald Trump a very clear off-ramp. Very clear off-ramp. All he has to say, I said it earlier in the segment. All right, well, first of all, let me just back up a second. Iranian state media said that they were pulling out of negotiations because of the Israeli incursion into Lebanon. Don't forget, the Iranians' line on these negotiations a few weeks ago was, there are no negotiations. The Americans are lying, right? There are no talks happening. That's all bullshit just to keep you on the edge of your seat. This time they said, no, we actually are in talks, but now we're pulling out of the talks because Israel cannot control itself. So that gives Donald Trump the perfect off-ramp if he wants it.
Sure.
Say, listen, we got to deal with Iran. Israel's not part of it. Israel and Iran can now fight it out. We're not going to get involved, and that's it.
Sure.
That's it. Sure. That is so clearly what is in America's interest to do. So if you had an American government that was not completely compromised by Israel, that's the obvious move here, but we're not making it. What does that tell you? That tells you who's in control. It tells you who's in control, very simply.
Of course. On any given day, you could cut off the raid.
Right. That's it.
Like any news story like this that's not accompanied by, today I'm cutting off Israel's aid, you can just dismiss it.
Right. Exactly. All right. We are at just about 2,000 in the YouTube. We were at 2,000 and something. We were at 2012. Now we're at 1985. I guess there were 27 diehard Brian Berletic fans in the chat at the time. At the time you made that comment. 703 in the like column. All right, everybody. We'll move right along in just a moment. First, a quick game break from our friends at Rumble Wallet. A lot is changing about the economy right now. And so have you ever asked yourself how much control you have over your money? Well, another question you should ask yourself is, why don't you have a Rumble Wallet? Because Rumble Wallet takes all the complexity of the new economy and makes it simple. You can get started by scanning the QR code on the screen right now. We're going to wallet.rumble.com. When you do, you can choose a currency of your liking to get started: Bitcoin, dollar-backed stable coins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. There's no complicated setup. It connects with MoonPay, so you can use your credit card, your debit card, or your bank and be up and running in minutes. And here's the fun part. Once you're set up, you can support your favorite Rumble creators like us directly through the Rumble Wallet. And it helps us a lot more than when you do it the old-fashioned way, because Rumble rants that you send through Rumble Wallet go directly to us. The platform takes 0 fees on Rumble Wallet Rumble rants. So do this now. Scan that QR code or click the link in the description and download Rumble Wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet, tap buy, and you are in the game. So scan the QR code right now or go to wallet.rumble.com. Okay, let's move right on along here. What do we got now? We got some Super Chats and Rumble Rants. All right, you want to take some of those?
Okay. Meteor Dreams, please talk about the Asian store owner who shot a 14-year-old black kid and got acquitted. People say the tiny hats are the problem, but the Asians, they are given businesses and money they don't deserve. Well, yeah, no, I've been telling Keaton we need to go on an anti-Asian rant on the show. Like, we don't do enough of those.
We had a production meeting today about that. Yeah.
We did. We said, you know, we got to find a few isolated incidents, very rare incidents of Asians shooting black people, and blow it up to smear the entire community.
Yeah. That's funny.
That'll be Thursday.
You're right ahead. Yeah, tune in Thursday.
Asians are not a model minority. They are also not white in any sense. You don't say. They are used as a buffer to keep us Latinos and blacks down. They are handed lots of government aid to start businesses in poor areas. Listen, man, there's a lot of grant money here in Harlem. And in spite of, I don't know, man, maybe back in Spike's day, there were more of like those Korean grocers. I don't know why, but you don't really see that anymore. You do see a lot of like Yemeni owners of like the bodegas up here in Harlem, but you also see a lot of black-owned businesses. Listen, man, a lot of that goes back to the history, particularly when you're talking about foundational black Americans. You're talking about people who literally systematically had their cultures destroyed and taken away from them, who systematically had their family structures destroyed, with their children being sold into slavery, who with just the making it impossible to accumulate generational wealth. I mean, you're talking about that. These Asians, they're coming from intact cultures that emphasize hard work and study, and that gives them a certain advantage in the system. Like, it's not that they're preying on anybody, I don't think. I think that they have a very different history that gives them very different problems. Like, it's but to turn around and go on a racist diatribe against them, this was always part of the core problem, I thought, with wokeness, with the whole woke vision. Because I would always tell them, do you really believe like the world works where you have like heterosexual white people and then everybody else is on the same page? Like, there's no racism between blacks and Puerto Ricans and Asians, and like there's nothing there. And of course there is, as your comments demonstrate. Deep Green.
I thought Russell was serious about the anti-Asian stuff that we had planned for Thursday. He was stringing me along.
Well, I mean, maybe we'll see what the numbers are like on it. Maybe we'll do one
trial balloon
diatribe. Yeah. Just a heads up, this is what Frank Sinatra boasted of funding this terrorist state, but yeah, started spreading the news. Oh yeah, it was big. Although he was also kind of a pioneer on speaking out for blacks in America. Meteor Dreams. It's funny how they want to count Asians as white. Who wants to count Asians as white?
How many more of these are there?
when they have zero European blood and we Latinos have 50 to 75% European blood, we are not white. Make it make sense. Now, hang on, Meteor Dreams. Like, I don't know if you want to go down this road, because Latinos are the ones who are starting to check white on censuses. I don't know of Asians who are doing that. So I don't know if that's where you want to go with it. I've actually done segments about that, about how, white is a flexible category. Jews, Greeks, Italians, basically anybody who was not Lord of the Rings white was not white until like the 60s and 70s. So there's a precedent for Latinos becoming a new white group, just like those previous. But Asians, yeah, you'd have a hard time selling that. And I don't think that's actually happening. Nocturnal Human. Every time an IDF soldier gets flattened by the Turkish army, call it a turkey sandwich. EO Shush. Anybody else find it odd the same day of the Israeli parade, all of a sudden DD has to do an early show? You two at the parade, we tell the goy Israel is evil and just give us money. Hey man, you can go to my X and see the picture of me with Jimmy, and actually Nellie Mackay joined us for dinner.
And actually, had we been in attendance at the parade, we would have kept the show at night, because the parade was during the day.
Exactly.
We were doing the whole reason we switched the show is so we'd have an alibi. Well, we weren't at the parade. Yeah.
That exactly. No one can accuse us of attending.
Right.
Ravid Laz, the infamous Israeli-American spy Pollard, has called for the nuking of the U.S. multiple times if the U.S. ever cuts off aid. It doesn't surprise me at all. In Terabang, I don't get why people want to live in NYC. It's expensive, exhausting, and people bitch because the mayor doesn't want to march. And that's brave. Hey, man, that's all true. That's all true. I can't deny it. People live in, look, if you're one of those people who gets addicted to the advantages of New York, culturally, culinarily, like if it grows on you, if it gets in your blood, you'll have a very hard time living anyplace else because it has such a unique confluence of elements. Look, personally, honestly, this is the truth. When I live outside of New York or spend extended times outside of New York, one of the things I miss the most is actually the cultural diversity. because no place else has that
Right.
to that extent. And for me, it's exciting and interesting to be around people from all over the world. And I miss that when I'm in cultures that are more homogeneous, as any place outside of New York I've ever been is, more so. Devanes, more New York Nazi rallies. Mrish 999, sad that the Zionists have so many allies. You know, it's not that many, or they wouldn't be moving Mamdani merch by Union Square.
Right.
I've never seen that in my life, and I'm pretty confident it's never happened before. Dave 1984, it's depressing how evil our ruling class is with these Israeli parades. Yeah. Israeli America defense unification, and of course, ruling class of PDF files. This is so fucking gross. Yep. Healing Tarzan, read this whole dashing babies against the rocks thing. Has anyone told the Satanists that the actual Bible is more satanic than theirs? In a lot of ways, it is, man. You ever see the film adaptation? It's also in the book of A Clockwork Orange, and when he's in prison, he talks about how much he likes the Bible because of all the sex and ultra violence. He's really into it. Yeah, the Bible is full of incest and murder and genocide. Yeah, absolutely. All right, do we want to go on?
Yeah. All right, let's go on.
All right, you ready?
I don't know.
It's my magnum opus.
Yeah,
it's
not
my
sure.
magnum opus. I have not been let off the leash with a culture segment in like a year. I haven't gotten to do a culture segment in like a year.
Just understand something before you start. It's NBA Finals week. Okay? It's NBA Finals week. So
hey, fair enough.
I have an opportunity. I don't think
You could get back at me.
Don't think retaliation is off the table.
Well, I mean, some people in our audience would like an NBA final story.
Yeah.
Right?
I think
okay, so the Odyssey. All right. Let's talk about it. I actually, the reason I felt like this was worth commenting on is me and Keaton both coming out of theater, I feel, have a unique perspective on this that most people in the space don't, because there are elements of this conversation that are being missed that have a lot to do with the way theater has been cast really since the 50s. All right, so let's get this out of the way. Is Elliot Page playing Achilles in Nolan's The Odyssey? We know that Elliot Page has been cast in The Odyssey. The role has not been announced. I personally believe this is one of these things that started somewhere with some troll on the internet and got elevated to being a serious belief that some people have. This is, however, the rumor that launched 1,000 memes. Some of them quite funny, I gotta say. So here's an example. So, yeah, they're pretty much in that direction. So Red Pilled America points out in Greek mythology, there is actually a role for a transgender in the Odyssey. In Greek mythology, Tiresias was a man turned to a woman, then back to a man. He's considered wise because he's lived as both a male and female. We doubt Nolan cast Page for that role, but it's not yet been confirmed. Yeah, that's one possibility.
Cyclops
Tiresias
was trans.
Well, yeah, that's why I had somebody make the artwork for my Star Wars thing. I had a trans Cyclops.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Tiresias is a character that like pops up in a lot of different Greek plays and mythology. It was a very conventional character. And yeah, Tiresias was supposed to be male and female. So there is actually a role for that. Tiresias, as I recall, is not a very pronounced character in the Odyssey. So I think that's probably not it. I think this poster, Huff, is probably right. I would bet money Ellen Page is playing Elpenor, The young sailor who gets drunk and dies in a fall on Circe's island, then meets Odysseus as a shade in the underworld. The pick is definitely giving shade and Hades vibes. And if Ellen is fit to play anything these days, it's a tormented boy. Yeah, I think the poster probably nailed it. I think that's probably. There's no way that Nolan would completely destroy his movie by casting Elliot Page as Achilles. I don't buy it. But you know who's having a predictable meltdown about this? Elon! Elon, give me more defense contracts. Look this way at the Odyssey movie. Don't look at my defense contracts. Don't look at the fact that I bought a money-losing social media platform as a propaganda outlet for my financial and business interests. Don't look at that. Look at the Odyssey. Look at the white South African genocide. Ah! Yeah. Chris Nolan desecrated the Odyssey so that he would be eligible for an Academy Award. Okay. This is going around. Then, of course, is Flying Monkeys, who get paid for these opinions. Gunther Eagleman. Chris Nolan just desecrated Homer's timeless Odyssey, one of the foundational stories of Western civilization, by cramming it full of woke DEI garbage just to qualify for the Academy Awards Diversity Checkbox Festival. This is what happens when Hollywood sells its soul to the radical left. Classic tales get butchered, merit gets torched, and everything turns into pathetic propaganda. You are nothing if not an example of merit, my friend.
Yeah.
And then former political operative turned professional prostitute, Juanita Broderick, wokeness and DEI ruin everything. Cha-ching. Cha-ching. That's $3.75 right there for Juanita. She works cheap, I suspect. But there's laying out the basic argument here. C3. To be eligible to win Best Picture at the Oscars, at least one non-white, non-straight lead or significant role. At least 30% minor roles, non-white, non-straight people. 3, at least 2 departments headed by non-white, non-straight people. This is why Nolan did it, coward. Now to point out the absolute obvious here. Oppenheimer won 7 Oscars and it was an all-white cast, you fucking idiot. Yes. How the hell could Oppenheimer have won 7 Oscars if this were such a high bar you would have to clear? Yeah, Nolan, the hottest director in Hollywood, decided he's going to cast his whole movie to get Oscars, which he's already won, and would in all likelihood, given that Oppenheimer qualified under the current standards, certainly the Odyssey did not need to be cast the way that he cast it. So to be fair, even a lot of the nerds are rejecting that theory, although they are embracing others that are equally regarded. Speaking of, Nerdrotic responded to Elon here with, the pussy hat crowd. Oh, it's the pussy hat people who won't give me back the stuff I liked when I was 10. Give me back my Star Wars. Okay, so it's funny, man, because as you know, if you watch the show, I don't want to listen to the kind of heavy stuff we do generally on the show when I'm cooking and eating. It's my brain rot time. So I'm pretty familiar with the content these guys put out. And they are very offended at the idea that they're racists. And then they put out thumbnails like this. We was Greeks. Yeah, no, this isn't racist.
Yeah.
This isn't racist. Having the lead actress, with wide eyes there, Zendaya. Yeah, no, this isn't with kind of throw up version of the Odyssey misspelled. No, you guys aren't racist. Well, that's woke to claim that you're racist when you decide to sell your videos this way. Yeah, no, you're not racist. This human anal wart here goes by the name Disparu. Here's a little bit of his absolutely not at all racist take here.
No one's going to believe this is some deep intellectual reference that just had to include rap. There's a reason why if you play classical music outside shops, it scares the rap fans away. And of course, we have Shaniqua of Troy. Helen of Troy, famously the face that launched 1,000 ships. I can only assume that's why Hollywood had to wait till 2026 to do an adaptation of the Odyssey, as those ships are definitely going to have to be CGI. The only way her face could launch 1,000 ships is if you told them there were a load of actual Greek women on an island just over there. A deadly virus has wiped out
all right. So this pile of sausage grease made flesh is critiquing the looks of this beautiful woman who he could not score on his best day in a million years. This fucking greasy pile of dog shit is talking about somebody else's looks with absolute confidence. That is some. Listen, man, I don't throw around this phrase a lot, but that is some mediocre white man shit right there. If you feel like you're qualified to talk about her looks, maybe look in a mirror.
I mean, he's an inspiration in that he has worse hair than me. I like seeing a YouTuber with worse hair than me.
Yeah, no, the guy who never outgrew teenage acne and oily hair should be going on about her.
And they are gagging for it. My favourite was all the tweets that like, can't believe that you think she's not attractive. I could really only give one response. You can't gaslight me that she's attractive. My dangly bits aren't intelligent enough to feel shame. Even from the best photo they could find, it was a 4, which is a lot better than some of the others you find, where it's like, at best, a solid 3. Or 2. I think at this point, when you are getting mocked by random Greek weather women...
All right, so yeah, man. You open the segment by calling her Shaniqua of Troy, but these guys, they get very upset when they're called racist. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous to claim that they're racist. Speaking of which, Matt Walsh, not one person on the planet actually thinks that Lupita Nyong'o is the most beautiful woman in the world, but Christopher Nolan knows that he would be called racist if he gave the most beautiful woman role to a white woman. Nolan is technically talented, but a coward, too afraid to do anything that even slightly challenges the spirit of the age. Okay, so you'll notice they really cherry-picked like the worst photos you could find of her. This is a very beautiful woman. Is she the most beautiful woman in the world? Who would be? Who would you pick that everyone would agree is the most beautiful woman in the world? These guys would not have been happy with any casting other than Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah.
That's the only casting they would have been satisfied with.
Sydney Sweeney sucking on a baby bottle or whatever the fuck she did.
Yeah.
Went viral. Yeah.
Oh, they got very upset about that. That's a whole other subject. I think Sydney Sweeney has been really misinterpreted. She's a great actress. She played Reality Winner, actually, in a movie before anyone was paying attention to her.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Carrie Brothers. Seems a lot of people are saying you're racist. Maybe, but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and just say that you have bad taste because, dude, she's stunning. There's just a random red carpet pic. The fuck is wrong with you? Yeah. You cannot be arguing this woman is not beautiful and then be arguing this isn't about racial standards of beauty. Okay, there's empirically, by any reasonable person who can get an erection for anyone who is not blonde and blue-eyed and Aryan would say is a beautiful woman. Another picture of her. The dumbest criticism of all time. She is very beautiful. Yeah, the most beautiful woman in the world. Again, nobody could qualify as that. You could not cast someone that everyone would agree, oh, that's the most beautiful woman in the world. That's a ridiculous standard. So then people have issues with the translation that Nolan supposedly went with. This is a woman who, according to some of the reporting I read, I think it's true, was the first woman to translate the Odyssey. This from Venom. Emily Wilson claims previous male translators injected heavy misogyny, such as adding slurs like sluts to the women who slept with the suitors, not highlighting Odysseus's wife Penelope's physical strength and especially her strategic intelligence, which was on par with Odysseus's. Reducing Circe to a wicked witch who uses sex to trap a helpless man, ignoring that the Greek text explicitly calls her a goddess who uses sexual intimacy as a calculated diplomatic treaty between equals. All right, so there's a little bit of what she had to say.
I've been shocked to realize how much there are visible misogynies on the part that are not just from one or other translator, but multiple translators. Several translators use the word sluts, when in the Greek there are no terms of abuse in that passage. They're just called the female people who slept with the suitors. There's no noun and there's certainly no derogatory term. There's never a definitive translation, and a translator always makes choices.
Okay. All right. So cue meltdown. All right. All right. So these are some of the things that she changed or adjusted. Odysseus, Homer's polytropos becomes complicated, highlighting his manipulative survival tactics rather than mere cleverness. Enslaved women, referred to as domoi, slaves, their mass execution is a brutal massacre of coerced victims, not disloyal maids, as prior translators framed it. Well, that seems fair enough. Penelope, peripheron, renders her strategic and cunning, not passively faithful. Calypso, her holding Odysseus is captive, coercion, not romance. Odysseus's crew, starving desperation drives them to eat the sacred cattle of the sun god, questioning his leadership. Suitor slaughter, graphic, ambiguous violence like butchering animals, portrayed as morally complex rather than heroic. All right. Now, if you understand that, you're talking about translations, many of which were done by Victorians. Is anyone going to reasonably claim that Victorians would not have imposed Victorian values on the way that they translated the Odyssey? Like, do you think that she's wrong? That there's not like enormous misogyny? And then a poster put this up actually to argue how she destroyed it, and actually ends up making her argument. Her argument is there's an enormous amount of interpretation because you have words that we just don't have. So there's going to be, for example, what if you had to translate Schadenfreude? We don't have a word like that. So it is going to be largely up to the translator to interpret how you would say that in English. And based on the cultural lens that you're bringing to it, there's a lot of room for difference. So Robert Fitzgerald, sing in me muse, and through me tell the story of that man skilled in all ways of contending. And then you get to T. Lawrence, same exact line. Divine Posy, goddess daughter of Zeus, sustain for me this song of the various-minded man. Robert Faglis, sing to me of the man muse, the man of twists and turns, driven time and again off course once he had plundered the hallowed heights of Troy. And Emily Wilson, okay, this is probably the most controversial thing she's doing, but it's an aesthetic thing. She rendered it an iambic pentameter. Tell me about a complicated man muse. Tell me how he wandered and was lost when he had wrecked the holy town of Troy. Now, you can't say that their translations were very close and similar, and hers goes off the beam. Hers is very different from theirs. Theirs is very different from each other's, which reinforces her point that there's an enormous amount of interpretation coming from each person who translates it. There's no such thing really as a faithful translation from archaic Greek. So, Schellenberger, man. Jesus, what happened to this guy? What happened to this guy? It's just sad.
It started when he bailed on our show.
That was, well, he was already kind of on the fence. He was already in a place where I knew we were going to get some shit for bringing him on, but I didn't feel, I felt like that's just people who can't accept heterodox opinions. Right. Now he's gone completely off the deep end.
Right.
So he brings on Isabella Reinhardt, an associate professor of the University of Austin, Barry Weiss's fake university. as if this is like somebody whose opinion is of any kind of value on this subject.
Does he think she should have played Helen of Troy?
Yeah. Hang on, my computer. There we go. All right, so let's hear a little bit of this.
Negative reaction to the translation and the movie is coming from people feeling like their deepest values are being attacked. What are those values?
I think with the trans
and is there
values being attacked?
Is there any fund for therapy for people who feel that way? Do they just need a good cry with a therapist?
Is Christopher Nolan in the room with you now?
Translation, it's the idea that there can be heroes. And I also object to that. I have young kids, and I want them to read stories about brave people.
Odysseus rapes and murders his way through this story. Like, is that what you want your kids to emulate and admire? Like, is that the story is not as uncomplicated as your audience of morons who have never read 3 lines of the Odyssey, who are jumping up and down about this online.
Doing dangerous things in order to do what's right. I think that's something children should read. And I think people, when Odysseus is removed from the status of hero, it feels like the idea of a hero is being degraded. And I think it is very important for us to have heroes, to recognize them, and to aspire to be like that ourselves, to be brave and to confront the real evil of the world.
I wonder what they pay you to work at a fake university that doesn't give accredited degrees.
Just film your husband threatening to shoot the black mailman and show that to your daughter as an example of what a hero is.
Well, what a hero looks like.
If you need role models in your life, just do that.
Yes. Thanos Angelopoulos. This is historically illiterate. Long before Emily Wilson, the Greeks themselves questioned whether Odysseus was heroic. Plato called him false. Sophocles, fox, hunter, instrument of every evil. Euripides, architect of child murder, voice of pitiless expediency. Tzetzes from the 12th century called him a blustering coward. The Western canon didn't preserve one clean Odysseus. It preserved many: liar, manipulator, sophist, criminal inventor. Questioning heroes isn't degrading them. It's what the canon does. Yeah, this is the culture that produced Oedipus, a play about a heroic king who tragically falls at the end because he murdered his father and had sex with his mother. The Greeks were very comfortable with that kind of moral ambiguity and enjoyed exploring it. Tokyo on the Rocks nails it. Maybe they feel like their deepest values are being attacked because there is a whole grift system in our social media dependent on farming rage and anger from people being told they are under assault. Those people are literally also funded by political opportunists seeking power. Got it in one. Very, very well done, sir. And here, pointing out the obvious, Paul Krauss. Conservative praise of Odysseus is funny. Odysseus is a deceiver and liar. Sure, he chooses his family, but at the cost of everyone else in his company. He also rejects the gods and chooses mortal dust as his forever home. Quite the guy. Dante rightfully places him in hell. See, that's pretty funny. If Odysseus was always cast as heroic, why did Dante put him in hell? If this is a modern thing that this damn woke feminist translator invented, why would Dante have put the character in hell if he was not widely understood to be villainous? And then a little more on the casting. Christopher Nolan reveals inspiration behind casting Travis Scott in The Odyssey. This is where you start to get into the overlap with this is a conversation theater had decades ago that has not really been brought into film. Quote, I wanted to nod towards the idea that this story has been handed down as oral poetry, which is analogous to rap, the director says. Okay. I would agree that in terms, I think you got two things going on here. If he wanted to have a rapper, I don't know why he got this guy. Here he is appearing at, as far as I know, this is the only acting he's ever done. He appeared at WrestleMania.
Wait a minute!
Yeah, and he doesn't really even seem like he knows what he's doing there. So if you want to talk about, is that a good casting choice? If he wanted to make that statement, well, Common is great. He's a rapper. He's a fantastic actor. Hell on Wheels. He was brilliant in that. So why he didn't grab somebody who probably would be more qualified in terms of his acting chops, I don't know. But the issue, the question of whether there's a modern connection between rap, which very often emphasizes storytelling, and classical verse, well, that question has been answered in theater for literally decades. There is Ian McKellen, who ironically all the nerds love because he played Gandalf. There he is at the Hip Hop Shakespeare Company. They're in England. Now, if you see, you got a lot of young people there, which is part of the point, right? Make Shakespeare translate to young people. Now, this is part of what's very funny to me about people who will take exception to this. When the fuck have you ever gone to see Shakespeare willingly, like not as part of a school trip? Do you go see Shakespeare?
Right.
Could you recite one single line from a Shakespeare play? These are the people who are screaming, "That's not Shakespeare." You don't know Shakespeare. You don't know the first thing about Shakespeare. You don't care about it. What? That's your culture. That's your culture. Something that you would not go see if your marriage depended on it. That's something you deeply care about. This is from 2006. Oedipus Remixed. Hip hop meets Greek tragedy. This is a connection that was made in theater quite a while ago. And yeah, it is effective in bringing in a younger audience. Who should they go for? The Chud X audience? Are you guys you're gonna go see? Oh, well, you know what? They cast it all white, and I hear there's a swastika over the stage, so I'm gonna go see it. You guys wouldn't even go see Sydney Sweeney in a boxing movie. At the height of, she represents the ideal of femininity, right? Would not go see. Yeah, they're trying not to go bankrupt, so they're trying to appeal to an audience that will actually come to these shows, which is not the people complaining about the hip hop interpretation. So really, the person who started, all right, now Sonny Hostin, black hole of intelligence, tried to make the argument, as she will, just like she did with Cleopatra, that you can't necessarily say Helen of Troy is white. That's ridiculous. I mean, she's Greek, which was not considered white for a lot of history, but okay. She was Greek. She was not black. I think we could safely say she was not intended in the original tale. I mean, it's mythology, but she was not intended to be black. So part of what's going on here is really a conversation about blind casting that has never really been had in film. And when they do try to blind cast, they make the wrong arguments. They don't argue for blind casting. So it was really Joseph Papp who founded the New York Shakespeare Festival. You probably heard of Shakespeare in the Park. He pioneered colorblind casting in the 50s and 60s. He started to say, well, he went further than I would, which we'll talk about, but he believed with these classical plays, Shakespeare, this kind of thing, you don't need to cast it according to the race of the culture that produced it, that you could cast anybody in it. And some people who made their careers starting out performing in Papp's classical productions, Denzel Washington, 1980. He was one of the people who was given an opportunity by that casting policy. James Earl Jones was a regular on their stages. Even later in life, he kept coming back. That's Ruby Dee on the right playing Cordelia in Lear. So a lot of household names actually started out doing Shakespeare with the Public Theater based on this blind casting. Now, at this point, audiences have been so conditioned to it that nobody really thinks anything of it. Now, with film, I will grant you, it gets a little more complicated because theater inherently demands suspension of disbelief from its audience. There's something out of the real world about it inherently. You're watching these people on the stage acting in front of you, but you're supposed to pretend there's a wall between you and them, whereas film is thought of more as photography. So I think it's harder to get people to accept that concept in film than it is in theater. I have never been in favor of doing this with contemporary plays. And, there was kind of a debate about that seems to have quietly tilted on the side of not doing it. Like, you'll see an all black Death of a Salesman, but people usually will not do a mixed race Death of a Salesman as being too distracting, which is something I personally agree with. But that's really what this is about. It's a question of blind casting. It's a question of, well, does this person have to be that race? I think arguing Helen of Troy might have been that race is the wrong argument because it's inherently ridiculous. So this is, the debate we had around The Little Mermaid. You're having this now with the casting of Snape in Harry Potter. Like, clearly the essence of what they're trying to do is blind cast Snape so that it's completely divorced from the description in the book. But I think the part of this conversation that's not being had is a very obvious one. Why is Hollywood doing this? Why are they doing this? Because Hollywood is creatively bankrupt. If you really want to make a statement that there are other voices that need to be heard, why would you make that statement by constantly recycling European mythology and folklore and sandwiching diversity into it, instead of expanding into exploring the mythology, the very rich mythology of non-European cultures, and casting people of that ethnicity and culture in those movies because they're creatively bankrupt. Look at the sequels, remakes, reboots, 2026. You got Avengers, you got Mario, you got Dune, you got Hunger Games. Jesus, another Hunger Games. You got Toy Story. You got a Moana sequel. You got the Devil Wears Prada sequel. You got yet another Resident Evil reboot. You got a Silent Hill sequel. This is why. This is really why, because the obvious solution to this, and if you really want to make this statement, what are you saying by constantly going back to the well of European stories? You're saying those are better. Like, really, you're not making a statement that you believe in diversity. You're making a statement that you believe European culture is superior to any other culture. So the only thing you could really do to create more diversity in Hollywood's output is to diversify the casting of European stories. Here, any of these would make a good elevator pitch, right? Anansi, well-known figure of African folklore, and for good reason. Stories about the trickster or original Spider-Man are told by cultures all across the diaspora. Morning Sunrise, this is a good plot. Short story that follows a father finding a worthy suitor for his beautiful daughter through a clever trick. Morning Sunrise is a young woman so beautiful that every man who sees her wants to marry her. This makes it difficult for her father, who has to choose her betrothed, so he decides to send word throughout the land that his beautiful daughter is dead. I mean, that sounds like the makings of a Disney animated feature right there. And of course, needless to say, there's a portrayal of the African trickster god. Asian mythology full of dragons and battles and warriors, all stuff that lends itself very well to a filmic treatment. Hanuman, the Indian god, would be very good for a film treatment or a franchise that you could build on. And of course, there's a pantheon of gods in Indian mythology. So, okay. Encanto is an example where this was not based on a pre-existing mythology. And it didn't make its money back at the box office, but it wound up becoming a global phenomena in streaming. So in the end, it did very well. I think a lot of us, you're going to kill me for this, if you just got the earworms of "We Don't Talk About Bruno" out of your ear, and now you're going to hear it for the rest of the day. So in the end, it did very well, and I thought that was a very good model for if you want diversity. Why don't you just make movies that are based in those cultures. Like, why don't you do that? And maybe part of the reason they didn't do it is it didn't do well at the box office, but it did make money in the end. Black Panther, $1.3 billion. $1.3 billion. So if you look at Encanto and you look at Black Panther, can you say that the track record of trying to create more diverse properties that are actually based in those worlds have less chance of becoming big franchise hits than recycling the Odyssey again and again? Jesus Christ, man. Troy was a fucking bomb with Brad Pitt. It's not like, oh, as soon as you make these movies to Ching, they're going to do great. So why don't you just do that? Because they're creatively bankrupt and they're cowardly. They don't want to take a chance. And for some inexplicable reason, they think that as soon as you put a 2, a 3, and a 4 after the name of the movie, it's going to make money, or if it's a known property. They're terrified of unknown properties. Now, this is a criticism I'll end off with because I think it's a valid one. This is from Greek City Times. In spite of how people are trying to portray this, that the Greeks are furious, this is a very reasonable, measured, open letter that they wrote about this. We are not asking for exclusion or limitation. We are not arguing against diversity nor against reinterpretation. Greek culture itself has always been shaped by exchange, migration, and encounter across centuries. What we are asking is something simpler and more human. That when Greek stories are retold on a global stage, Greek people are not rendered invisible within them. In recent years, the film industry has rightly placed increasing emphasis on representation, ensuring that cultures are acknowledged, voices are included, and lived experience is not erased in the process of storytelling. Indigenous stories increasingly involve Indigenous voices. Cultural consultation is becoming more standard practice. Identity is treated as part of artistic responsibility. We ask only that this awareness extend to Greek heritage as well, not because Greek identity is fragile, because it is continuous. Okay, that is a good point, that they so willfully seem to go out of their way not to cast anyone who is Greek and not to engage with the original source of the material. I think that's, and the way that they presented it was very reasonable. Like, yeah, you could cast it that way, but could you include us too? Since, we kind of invented the story. Yeah, absolutely. Nolan went too far. And frankly, if you just want to talk aesthetically, yeah, I think the casting is terrible in a lot of ways. Now, maybe you see the movie and he'll prove otherwise. He is a great director. I think Matt Damon as Odysseus, I don't even understand that. Like, why you would pick that. And he's white. And I think that's an awful casting choice. In the trailer, he went with them speaking very straight American accents, with the logic being, well, the Greeks wouldn't have heard an accent. That's a long time debate of how you handle classical in that way. Most directors default to stylized speech because people just can't accept that kind of very real world grounding in these very otherworldly settings. It's just very jarring for them. Again, Nolan's a great director. Will he be able to make that work? I have found in directing that people will accept any convention if you're consistent throughout the piece. You just can't ever break the reality once you establish it. So maybe he'll make it work. But a lot of these complaints are, it's as the poster pointed out, it's a lot of culture war grifting, riling up people who have never read the Odyssey, never would read the Odyssey, don't go to Shakespeare, don't know anything about Shakespeare, have no interest in Shakespeare, but they're told to have very, very strong feelings about how a feminist academic translated the Odyssey. It's absolutely ridiculous. And in terms of the blind casting for something like the Odyssey, I think it's long overdue that a standard that has been active in theater for over 70 years, where when you're dealing particularly with mythology, you're not even dealing with historical figures when you're dealing with things like The Little Mermaid. Yeah, man, you can blind cast it. You'll live. It's not destroying Western civilization. At the same time, yeah, Hollywood is very cowardly and hypocritical to not expand into the mythologies of other cultures and to just constantly recycle the same European stories and incite these same tired culture war provocations.
Yeah, it's funny because the point about how they are not really familiar with the source material enough to be as attached to it as they claim to be is a good one. Because, say what you will about, all of the hand-wringing and the bitching about, Star Wars and the superhero movies. At least they can claim some attachment to that material, right? Like
an unhealthy one, yeah.
An unhealthy one. To the point where they're halfway through 2025, they're all, this is what happens when you ruin good things for us, So so you're literally celebrating that ICE is shooting people in the head because lesbians ruined Star Wars for you. Wow, that is quite a brain you have on your head. But at least they are sincerely attached to that source material. Whereas with this one, you really can't claim any of that. It's just kind of ridiculous. It's just grifting. It's just performative. They should have cast Kanye if they needed a rapper. They should have cast Kanye as Odysseus.
Well, you know what? And then they would love it.
They would love it. Exactly.
Brave Christopher Nolan doesn't cancel Kanye.
Yeah, exactly. They should do they should make, because now it's in the news that the Republican Party in Minnesota had a moment of silence for Derek Chauvin or something, because he's been unfairly persecuted by the state. Yes. Should make a movie about Derek Chauvin as the hero. But here's the twist. Here's the twist. You race swap it. So Derek Chauvin is a black cop. So you have Tracy Morgan as Derek Chauvin and James Woods as George Floyd. And that's the beginning of the movie is, Tracy Morgan kneeling on James Woods' neck. And then, the black cop becomes the persecuted hero. That could be something. I wonder how they would take that, because that's a little inverted right there. So, yeah, it's also ridiculous. But it's an ancient myth. Who cares? Oh, Helen of Troy. And you mentioned Troy. The movie Troy did bomb, and Troy actually cast a white Helen of Troy. And they actually showed nudity for Helen of Troy, which was a bit of a controversial choice, because now you're really saying, okay, this is the most beautiful woman who's ever lived.
Right.
And you're showing her naked, right? So But there was no internet back then. Not really. There was, but there wasn't YouTube. There wasn't monetized YouTube back then, and whatever that was, 2002, 2003, 2004. I forget exactly the year that came out. So there was no incentive to manufacture outrage over it.
That movie bombed, and frankly, most of these movies bomb.
Yeah.
So, the idea that, go woke, go broke, I think go shitty writing and lazy virtue signaling, go broke.
Right.
Jesus Christ. Enter the Spider-Verse did great. That's got a black pregnant Spider-Woman.
Wow.
On a motorcycle. It's like a joke. Literally on a motorcycle. And that movie did great. You know why? It was good. Milo Morales, he's a Puerto Rican, I think he's half black, half Puerto Rican. Spider-Man does great. You know why? It's good. It's well written. Right. I don't have any patience for bad writing using cultural signaling as a substitute for quality so that they can hide behind accusing people of racism and misogyny when they bomb. But this is really not about that. Nobody's even seen the movie yet.
Right.
And you're complaining about a black Helen of Troy. And you know what? If the movie sucks, it's not going to be because it had a black Helen of Troy. It'll be more likely because they cast Matt Damon in that role than anything.
Right. Or it'll probably be, an hour and a half too long. Yeah.
That's another thing.
That's another thing. We'll see. All right. We'll move right on along here. Let's put up our patron scroll today. We are doing Q&A today because we postponed the Q&A on Sunday. So patrons, if you sign up at dudissidents.com/Patreon, Substack, or Locals, links are at the top of the screen. We'll have call-in access to the post-show Q&A this afternoon. That is one of many perks. You also get access to Film Club once a month with our partners at Right Brain TV. You also get post-game live streams and ad-free versions of every live stream replay emailed to you the day after they air live. So if you miss a live stream, you get to watch it back free of commercial interruption when you sign up and become a member. Membership starts at just $5 a month. You guys are the backbone of the show, so we thank you all very much for your support. Vienticus Prime says, ready for our military to be able to switched off by Israel as well as China. That's right. Well, we covered that last time. YouTube sucks. Won't let me put basic words in my super chat. Anyway, love my favorite commie Jew bastards always. And justice for Palestine. Well, thank you, Saucer. Appreciate that. Vienticus, the dust storm was Sunday. Just search Chinese dust storm, gale force 12. You got out just in time, Russ. Made it out.
I was lucky through the whole trip that way, man. I got out of Southeast Asia right before they started canceling flights for lack of fuel.
That's right. That's right. Burhonk says, love from Bahrain. Sending my love to all my brothers and sisters in the chat. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate that. Yads5678 says, voted for peace and freedom, green and libertarian candidates in Southern California midterms today. Only Democrat vote was for Katie Porter, California governor. Weir wasn't on the ballot. Oh, is the primary today? Is that the?
I believe it is.
Oh,
yeah.
wow. Okay. Interesting. I didn't even know that. But that is very interesting. Yeah, I think it is today, actually. RFK, speaking of He-Man, did you see a recent video of me wrangling two snakes with my bare hands? Nobody has seen a man handle two snakes like that before. Not since Trump with Bill and... who was that? Bill and I mean, he ran out of characters. Oh, man. Thank you, though. Lawns are fun. Would you guys ever have Eddie or Carlos from Midwestern Marks on to talk about the ACP?
Yeah. Somebody said we got to have Eddie on because we keep referencing each other.
Listening to an argument between Fuentes and Shapiro is a form of torture. Good one. Darius King, if Trump was actually mad at Bibi, he would have gotten his fat ass on Truth Social to talk shit about him like he does everyone else. Exactly. Well, that's what I mean. Yeah, the fact that leaked and nothing changed is more influence of Israel's control, not less.
Right.
Trump yelled at Bibi. Bibi told Trump to lick his ass. Trump did, and everything was back to normal. Good one. Del Cisco, love the shirt, Russ. Thanks for keeping it in the rotation. Love, Roger Waters is one of my heroes.
I am going to. I'm still getting my shit together from coming back from Asia, but I'm going to go through my shirts. I'm going to pick out the ones that I want to make part of like a giveaway on the show. So it'll probably be like 10 shirts being given away, I'd say.
Nice. 007 Angelo says, hello, DD. Did you guys hear that Congress is about to vote to integrate IDF with our military? Yes, we covered that. We covered that on the last show, my friend. Thank you for that. Yeah, we just dropped the clip yesterday. The saying politics is downstream from culture. Who's basically run Hollywood? Zionists even get their fingers in video games and anime. Look at Crunchyroll at the mixtape controversies. Ellison. Yeah. Daihako, the reason you don't see many Korean grocers anymore is many reach retirement age and move back to South Korea, or they were able to move into other business opportunities.
Yeah, like that was a stereotype in the 80s and 90s. But yeah, now you don't really see that anymore.
All right, what we got here? Virtuoso says Frank Sinatra having a hand in arming Israelis doesn't sit right with me. Then again, he's been a Fed. Talk about start spreading the Jews. Good one. Shady Deal says, I was with you for the anti-Jewish rhetoric, but don't you dare threaten my access to Jewish chicken. Thank you, Shady Deals. Appreciate that. Dayako, in activist circles and culture war discussions, people have told me that they see East Asians as white due to economic class and falling for the model minority myth. Vientikis says, I sometimes joke that if my story gets made into a movie, I want every role played by a white quadriplegic midgets, except for the midget. He can be played by Don Lemon. Interesting. Elon's dad, I'm not racist. I have lots of black servants. Huh? Good one, my friend. Good one. Eric Rousseau says, the real scandal is that Helen of Troy is trans. They, them launch 1,000 ships. Huh? Thank you, Eric Rousseau. Stray cat in the streets. All I know is Elliot Page is the most beautiful 12-year-old boy in the world. Eric Rousseau says, so you're saying the Bible is not the perfect word of God, but is lost in multiple translations. It must be why Christians are horrible throughout history. Robert Faggles must be homophobic. Huh?
Well, this is why, I mean, for the Bible, I always recommend reading the King James, because, I mean, I don't believe in it as theology. And if you're going to read it, read the one that has established the most literary tropes in terms of phrase. That's going to come out of the King James. You're going to find these, these eternal interpretations that constantly get quoted in the King James. Like the idea of more accurate to the Aramaic. Who cares?
Sasser says, are you sure you don't mean University of Texas at Austin? Is that where she's from, or is she from the Barry Weiss one? Yeah, UT is a real college. But
well, that's a real
Austin.
College.
Yeah,
Well, let me see. I'll go back. I'll look.
Look it up.
I assumed because she's on the fucking Barry Weiss outlet with Schellenberger there.
Shai Guevara, academic who speaks the ancient Greek of Homer versus culture war chuds who get a boner watching Transformers. Tough choice on whose opinion to value. Good one. Burhunk. To clarify, Berletic's argument is that the U.S. actually wants this war and to shut down the strait to strengthen dependency on the U.S. oil, liquid natural gas in the East, and hurt China. He makes some good points. Yeah, I mean, maybe I've not really heard his argument. I just know that there's just a general debate over whether Israel is leading it or whether we're leading Israel. Race car. Hey, Russ, I think I could write a computer program to... I mean, I've heard about his arguments through you guys. I know what you guys tell me. Hey, Russ, I could write a computer program to turn your little mechanical robot into a love machine. Just make sure you have enough AA batteries on hand. Thank you. Race car. Appreciate that.
Yeah, this is University of Austin. Yeah, I'm almost sure this is the...
So University of Austin is Barry Weiss's. University of Texas at Austin is the public school. Yeah.
Yeah. No. This is Barry Weiss's thing. Yeah.
Nocturnal Human. Meteor Dreams. Latino is not a race. I'm a 70% native Latino with family of different racial ancestry. The president of Mexico is Jewish, and there's plenty of Asian Latinos. Nizar G. I forgot Dante put Odysseus in hell. LMAO. Miss your culture segments, Russ. There you go. Nizar is a fan. Thank you, Nizar. Muppy the Puppy. In 1936, a 20-year-old Orson Welles directed a legendary all-black theatrical production of Shakespeare's Macbeth. That's right.
Yes. Well, that was before you had blind casting. What they would do, I think they called that the Voodoo Macbeth. They would do that. They would do like an all-black Macbeth set in Haiti. That's what that was.
Right.
But blind casting, where Lear can be black and his daughter can be Chinese, like that, Pap really was the pioneer in doing that. And now it's the convention.
Vientikis. Oops, where is this? Vientikis. This says, one thing I'll point out is that trying to dive deep into African and Arab cultural history, or even any cultural history of a place that doesn't speak a lot in English, is very fucking hard. I spend hours trying to research cultures just to create some sort of parallel for people to relate in my story, just for a pass through places or throwaway people.
Yeah, sure.
The Odyssey is basically the story of a guy who helped destroy heaven on earth. Per the myth, it's like the OG anti-villain story, which is really what online professional whiners identify with. Thank you, Skyman. Appreciate that. All right, everybody. We got one more segment on the day, and then we are heading over to the Q&A afterwards over on Rumble. So let's get started. Surprise Padres player emerging as potential Yankees trade target. The Padres and Yankees could make a trade this year. San Diego Padres have struggled to find a consistent catcher over the last few seasons. Last year, the Padres had a rotation of Elias Diaz and Martin Maldonado before the team decided enough was enough and spent 2 young, controllable starting pitchers to the Kansas City Royals in exchange for Freddie Furman. Russ, what's your take on that?
I think they should all be tried in front of a people's tribunal for their crimes against the workers.
All right, there we go. All right, well, that's our show today, everybody. Thanks very much. Appreciate you being here.
You ever see the Monty Python sketch where they have like communist leaders in a quiz show, where they have like Mao and Trotsky and Lenin, and every question winds up resolving too. And so in this year, West Ham United won the crown. And Mao is like, the means of production of the proletariat. No, I'm sorry. The answer is Manchester.
Yeah, that's right. All right, let's go to the real final segment of the day here. Cenk Uygur was supposed to be at South by Southwest London this week, but he got some bad news before he left. Let's take a look.
Remarkable thing just happened. I went to the airport to go to London. I'm going to give panel speeches at South by Southwest London and 2 speeches at Oxford. But it turns out I'm not, because the person at the United counter said, you have been banned from the United Kingdom. It says here the government has rejected you. So I already had a visa. It was a 2-year visa. I was in the middle of it. So they went in and pulled the visa, apparently. I had no idea why, and I have to say that it was a bit of a gut punch. It's a little bit hard to shake me, but I was shaken there because if that feeling of having your freedom taken away was so visceral. No, you're not allowed to travel to Oxford, to London, to the United Kingdom. You're banned. You don't have that freedom anymore. Why? At the time, I didn't even know. I saw a Times of London article which is filled with total nonsense and a bit of a hatchet job against me. And they said it's because I've criticized Israel. Guys, are we free anymore? This is insane. So 60% of America is critical of Israel. They have nothing that I've said that's anti-Semitic, because I haven't said anything anti-Semitic. Because I'm not anti-Semitic, and I don't believe that you should discriminate against anyone. That's actually my core philosophy. I'm for complete nonviolence and equality for every race and religion. So since they don't have that, they said, well, by definition, criticizing Israel is anti-Semitic. My God, how many people are they going to ban from the United Kingdom?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, they would arrest protesters one after the other. Yeah, they've gone absolutely insane. And turns out he's not the only one. Turns out it runs in the family. Here is Hasan Piker bringing this up, not because he wanted to, but because, hey, it came up since they got his uncle.
Uygur banned from entering the UK? Yeah, it's... Okay, well, I didn't want to talk about it, but my visa has also been revoked. We just found out. So, yes. Yes, I will not be going as it stands currently. I don't believe that I'll be able to go to the United Kingdom. And this is the liberal government, right? The Labor government is supposed to be the liberal government doing this. And the American government is the right-wing government doing it. Like, we are in the 1930s era, and things are going to get even worse from here on out. Straight up fucking fascism. That's it. Israel is a fascist country, and it gets to enforce its bidding upon other countries.
Yeah, no lies there. Yeah, he was supposed to go to the Oxford Union debate, which he's done in the past, and I guess he was supposed to appear at South by Southwest since he was going to be in the area, but now neither he nor Cenk Uygur will be there. It's just absolutely embarrassing.
And I haven't been able to get good jellied eel here at all.
Yeah.
Now I don't know when I'm going to be able to get that made in the way it's meant to be prepared.
You know, Michael Savage is banned in Britain too. He was
Is
the
he?
first major media guy to be banned in Britain for, some other kind of like hate speech. I think they actually banned him for anti-Muslim hate speech like way, way back when. So where am I going to go for that great British dental work? Yeah. So welcome to the club, Hasan and Cenk.
Yeah. A lot of people when I was going to China, of course, like, oh, you better be careful. And I kept saying, and I meant it, I feel much safer going to China, I mean, in terms of like censorship, than I do going to England at this point.
Yeah.
Like, I think my chances of getting arrested in England, not high, but not non-existent. I would say much higher than in China for what I say, for what I talk about. Like, this has been building up and building up and building up. They started with arresting the journalists, and then they started arresting the protesters. And now this is the next logical step.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, there have been right-wing figures banned from Britain. Michael Savage is one of them. And we support free speech here. At least, I do. I think I could speak for Russ when I say people should not be banned from entry for their views, no matter what.
Especially their views on communist Basil.
Especially their views on communist Basil. That's right. That's right. Somebody has to tell the truth about communist Basil. But here's Michael Knowles from the Daily Wire. Banning Hasan Piker from the UK is a good start.
Oh, wow. All the anti-woke warriors.
All the anti-woke warriors. And, look, I just have to say, in my opinion, these people seem gay to me. I mean, the whole dancing gesture thing, that's just my opinion. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just an observation. Okay. Yeah. Canada Lime says, and just like that, Knowles became a leftist. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. What happened to the anti-wokesters? Yeah. Well, he doubles down on this. He says, the free speech movement was a left-wing op. Wow. Mask completely off here. Just
so
completely
like Epstein
off.
Was a hoax.
Yeah, it's like Epstein was a hoax. Exactly. All of a sudden, yeah, exactly. That it is a switcheroo on that scale. This is why I'm saying, like, you're in a new political era now in a number of ways. But one way, and I think the conservative movement is really going to feel the consequences of just how mask off they have become, and that they're not going to get any goodwill from anyone who's like politically homeless anymore. Like, we defended conservatives' free speech rights, and we even defended some conservatives in making their free speech arguments when they were being deplatformed and sometimes even persecuted. I mean, I think the way the government came after a guy like Jacob Chansley after January 6th was just absolutely vicious and sadistic.
We stood up for Alex Jones.
We stood up for Alex Jones. Exactly. So, like, we have given a lot of goodwill to them. Not anymore. Not anymore. I mean, I'll always defend people's right to speech. Like, if Gavin Newsom comes after people like this and tries to ban them from the country or throw them in jail, I'll, of course, defend your free speech rights. But I'll never give you the benefit of the doubt that I gave you years ago. And no one will, because you've just proven to be absolute shameless fucking frauds and liars on this. So Glenn Greenwald quote tweets Hasan's tweet about this. He says, note that the UK government just banned entry of 2 American citizens, Cenk Uygur and Hasan Piker, not because they criticized or worked against the interests of the UK. It was solely because they criticize and oppose the one country. Israel, of course. I don't have the full screenshot because the point is, Michael Knowles says the UK has also banned 2 senior members of the Israeli government and threatened to arrest Netanyahu if he sets foot on British soil. Okay, dipshit. That is because the United Kingdom is a signatory to the Rome Statute. So they are obligated under international law to arrest Netanyahu if he sets foot on British soil. So if they were to say, well, we're not going to enforce that order, then, they would no longer be a party to the ICC. So they were kind of forced into that by the ICC, which they have been a member of this contract, shall we say, since 1998. So that's why they will arrest Netanyahu if he sets foot on British soil, out of obligation, not out of intention. Daniel Ergo says, see, this is what liberals don't seem to understand. It is okay to limit people's freedom sometimes. Oh, is that right?
Oh.
Oh, okay. Okay. Really? It's good that we get this lesson now. Now that we have power, it's okay to limit people's freedoms sometimes. When we were out of power during the Biden years, he was a fascist for trying to get us thrown off of Facebook. But now that we have power, see, it's okay to limit your freedom.
Yep. Funny how that works.
Just unbelievable.
And I wonder what their take on free speech is going to be after the midterms.
Yeah, after the midterms, I wonder. I wonder. Under President Gavin Newsom there. I don't know. They'll be casting Elliot Page as Helen of Troy under Gavin Newsom, and you'll be forced to like it, or else you'll be thrown off social media. You'll be thrown in an ICE jail. Yeah,
they're going to be casting Ellen Page in a Reagan biopic.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Certain people should not be allowed to speak certain things in public. Oh, and certain people should not be allowed in your country. That is if you want to have a serious nation. Okay, so Rush just went to China. I'm not going to get out in front of his report, but there is censorship in China. China does monitor its people, and they do control what they say. And I'm not for that. I don't have hostility for China. It's not my business. It's not my country. It's a different civilization with a different bargain, a different arrangement between the individual and the state. I'm for peace with China. I'm not, saying it to cast aspersions on them. But that is not a value of mine. That is not a place I would want to live for that reason as a fat, loudmouth Western asshole. Okay? But
well, at least you'll admit it.
At least I'll admit it. That's right. That's right. Guilty as charged, right? Okay.
Many fat Americans, they think they look good. They don't know why our women won't fuck them.
Exactly. All right. So that's me. My cards are on the
smell
table
like
there.
bacon.
Yeah. All right. So those are my cards on the table there. Okay. But what the conservatives do is they take it a step further. They really do pass judgment on these societies that censor their population in order to why do these communist states control speech to the extent that they do? Because they're afraid of subversion from outside. Now, if you're going to say, well, they're horrible, evil places for doing that, well, then you got to say the UK is guilty of the same thing. You got to say any country that does that is guilty of the same thing, right? Like, you're either for freedom of speech as a principle or you are not. And, for whatever flaws exist within the Chinese system, the bargain between the individual and the state is that, yeah, you don't get to run your mouth as much, but you'll get healthcare. You'll get a roof over your head, right? We're going to provide you with some material security. Here in the West, we don't get that same material security, which means in exchange for that, we have the right to speak our mind. That's the whole bargain. That's the whole bargain. And you're violating that on both ends right now. And they make a statement like this and not even realize the irony of it. More mask off stuff from Michael Knowles. This issue is going to separate the men from the boys, i.e. conservatives from libertarians. So you're just spelling it out right there. You're just saying it right there. Hey, if you're a conservative, you believe that the government ought to enforce speech codes. Not like those hippie libertarians who, yeah, they're for capitalism, but they're also for free speech. They're children.
Yeah,
they're immature. Right. You can't have both. You have to police people's speech. Okay, so let's hear what South by Southwest said. South by Southwest London has released a statement regarding speakers Hasan, Piker, and Cenk Uygur being barred from entering the UK. Decisions on entry to the UK are a matter for the Home Office and the individuals concerned. South by Southwest London's role is to convene a broad range of diverse voices and perspectives. We remain focused on delivering a program this week fostering open dialogue and exchange of ideas and featuring more than 800 speakers, artists, and screenings. Pretty weak sauce there from South by Southwest. Middle East Eye reports South by Southwest Festival slammed for not defending Piker and Uygur after UK ban. The South by Southwest London Festival has been slammed for failing to defend American political commentators Cenk Uygur and Hasan Piker after the British government banned them from entering the country to speak at the event. Piker called South by Southwest actual fucking losers, and some speakers have dropped out in protest over what they say is South by Southwest's failure to stand up for free speech. So here is Hasan Piker responding to South by Southwest's statement.
West is like, I guess, a very popular brand in the UK, or this is a big deal for the UK. This is the second year they're doing it or something. I don't really know. And they had asked me, and I was doing it as a fucking favor to South by Southwest because some friends that I trust wanted me to do it. So I was like, sure, I'll attend. I'm already going to be in the UK. And it's not like they're paying me, right? I'm not getting paid by Southwest to do this, right? It's actually really insane. I'm like doing this as a fucking favor, and they're literally like farming donations off of my image, off of my likeness. And then it's crazy that they just once the Home Office intervened and revoked my visa. When the Home Office intervened and revoked my visa, South by Southwest's statement was disgusting. Like, it was literally nothing. To us, they were like, sorry, we have to abide by the government's demands. That was one. And then their public thing was they just deleted my background page.
Okay, so abide by the government's demands mean that, they're not allowed in the country. Now, South by Southwest has no control over whether they're allowed in the country, but you can't set up a virtual screening. Would that be in violation of any law? I don't think so. Like, there are sanctioned individuals from countries that still, like, call in on Zoom to be interviewed, as long as you're not paying them or whatever. You're seemingly not in violation of anything. So what? They couldn't facilitate that? They couldn't ask them for a statement that they can then read on the stage? No, nothing. Just, never mind. I guess you're just going to be disappeared from this event. So,
I don't want to step on your segment. Oxford Union is doing that.
Yeah, well, I have that at the end, yeah.
All right.
So Ash Sarkar, I pulled out of South by Southwest London, and I hope other speakers and chairs do too. Having read the South by Southwest statement on Hasan and Cenk being denied entry to the UK, I'm afraid I have to withdraw my participation. If I were in their shoes, I would hope that an organization which invited me to speak and had their programming interfered with by the Home Office would have had the minimal expected integrity for some defense of lawful free expression and condemn government overreach. Thank you for the invitation. Good for her. Zara Rahum, a political activist who had been set to speak along Piker on his panel at the festival, also denounced South by Southwest, saying the entire premise of our panel was rooted in examining why audiences increasingly distrust institutions, gatekeepers, and traditional power structures' political discourse, and whose voices are permitted legitimacy in public life. She added, there's an obvious irony in hosting a conference about the future of media, democracy, dissent, and political power while responding so cautiously to the banning of one of the most influential political commentators from even entering the country. I appreciate everyone's time and the work that went into putting this together, but under the circumstances, stepping away feels like the only option for me. South by Southwest has been embroiled in controversy in previous years. We covered one of these controversies, actually. In 2024, more than 80 artists withdrew from its event in the U.S. in protest at its partnership with the United States military defense contractor RTX Corporation, which is Raytheon. We covered that on our channel. In response, South by Southwest discontinued those partnerships, saying that the U.S. Army and companies who engage in weapons manufacturing will not be sponsors of South by Southwest 2025. But the show did go on, and look at this. Ironic. One of the topics is fascism. South by Southwest London takes on fascism. We're in a cultural war, and we need to win it. The rise of fascism was on the agenda at South by Southwest London on Monday afternoon at a session titled The Authoritarian Creep, How Far-Right Rhetoric Impacts Culture. Deborah Francis White, a British writer and podcaster best known for the podcast The Guilty Feminist, spoke with a group of expert panelists on Donald Trump, Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and the rising tide on the far right. We should have made some time for Keir Starmer, who kind of ruined the event by canceling at least one of the big headline speakers. I do think we really have to take the seriousness of this moment to heart, began Fernandez Morelli. When asked on her opinion as to how things have gotten to this point, as the U.S. tips further into authoritarianism and the U.K. heads in a similar direction, she said economic insecurity, collapse of trust in institutions, social media that rewards outrage over nuance, and I think democratic society is becoming complacent, Growing up, I know I took for granted the rights that I have. No, I think a lot of people did too. And it's funny that certain people aren't allowed to come to your country and make that same point because they criticize not your country, a foreign country, a third country.
And not mentioning that leads to complacency and fascism, you could say.
Exactly. Just kind of like ducking that issue makes people complacent, right? So, yeah, Russ said this earlier. The Oxford Union taking a different tack here, a statement from the president, Arwa El Rais. Here's from the Oxford Union. The Oxford Union intended to host Cenk Uygur and Hasan Piker on June 6th for a discussion and head-to-head event with our members. We are deeply concerned by the revocation of both speakers' electronic travel authorizations on the basis that their appearance would not be conducive to public good. These events have been publicly announced for months. The 11th hour call signals much more than democratic decline. It is a direct threat to free expression. The Oxford Union was founded on one principle, that ideas are challenged through debate, not silenced by decree. We have never turned a speaker away because of their political beliefs, nor have we sought a permission slip from the state. We will not start now. This event will not be canceled. The union will ensure this discussion takes place. Free speech does not require a visa. We will update our members shortly. So maybe they're going to do like a virtual thing,
right.
But good for them. Yeah, I thought what makes liberal democracies better than, the authoritarian communist states is that we allow people to speak. And allowing people to speak projects confidence in your system. Censoring speech projects a lack of confidence in your system. And so if this system is so damn superior to the others, why aren't people with the wrong opinions allowed to come into your society and speak their mind? Why is that not conducive to the public good? So you're telling me free debate is not conducive to the public good? Why? If free debate is not conducive to the public good, that means your version of the public good is suspect, right? Like what vision of the public good are you enforcing if it does not allow for free debate? Not even about your country. This is what's so insane about it. Like, they're not banned for talking shit about the Queen, right? They're banned for talking shit about Israel. It's just outrageous and embarrassing. We started this stream with the Israel Day parade, and we asked ourselves how, after 2.5 years of horror, can people still line the streets with Israel flags and march down Fifth Avenue as if this is a place to be celebrated? Same thing here. How after 2.5 years of this can you be barring people from entering your country for anti-Zionism when you're not even Israel? It's embarrassing. It really is a damn shame. And just like, I was rendered somewhat speechless by the Israel parade stuff, I'm rendered somewhat speechless here. It's just an embarrassment. It's just disgraceful. It's unbelievable that a government would take this action in June of 2026.
You couldn't find a better example of the emptiness of the liberal hipster class than South by Southwest issuing that statement. And then a panel about fascism refusing to address it while signaling their sophisticated liberal values. And you could say that in general about England. England has a lot of activism around gender rights and sex work. And, there's a lot of protests about that in England. If you want proof of what I've been saying for years, that they're very happy to keep the conversation on what in the end are superficial culture war conversations that do not impact real power, you couldn't find a better example than this. Because England will let all those conversations happen. They'll let all those conversations happen.
Right.
But you say something about Israel, and now all of a sudden you can't get in. I bet you Matt Walsh can go there. He can go there. He talks all these culture war things. They don't care about that. They don't care about that. Anyone who tells you that's a threat to power, they're either deluded or they're grifting. They're making money off that conversation. It is obviously not a threat to power because look what conversations they shut down. Not those.
Right.
Not those. You start getting into Israel. Look, man, I'm sure somebody who constituted a real threat to capitalism will probably start getting on no-fly list too. There's
Right.
no such thing. It doesn't exist. There's nobody around, including Piker, who's an actual threat to the economic order. But Israel is under serious threat in public opinion. So they're getting desperate and they're starting to reveal themselves. And this liberal class, which South by Southwest, it's like adjacent to TED Talk. It's full of these people who think quite a lot of their morals and cultural sophistication. It just shows you what a bunch of hypocrites they are, just like the Democrats who marched with war criminals in New York. These people are all full of shit.
Yep. 100%. No doubt about it. All right. Let's read some remaining Super Chats and Rumble Rants before we head out here. Let me just take these three because I didn't want to saddle you with these, but I wanted to wait until our last segment so we don't slow the show down. Let's not pretend that Asians, especially East Asians, see themselves as white. There are mainly a TikTok I've come across where they say at this point, all I do is laugh because their delusion is big. Also, Russell, if Asians are so hardworking and self-sufficient, how come tons of them are on welfare? I'm a social worker here in SoCal and filled with them. Just saying, it's time to pay attention.
Hang on. Didn't you just say that the Asians are like white people and they're privileged, but now you're telling me they're on welfare?
They're on welfare.
They're on welfare. Oh, wow. Hang on. So are you saying they get treated like an oppressed minority? That they're on welfare? Or are you saying they're gaming the system? It's very MAGA.
We should also talk about the Vietnamese councilman who in Orange County pushed to name the street Charlie Kirk Way, but they gave a hate crime bill instead of black people who need it the most. All right, so look, I read those. Just fair warning, we're not going to derail the show with arguing about Asians for $6. All right, I mean, when you have the super chats, it's a good way to, voice your opinion, but we're not going to spend forever every show for $6 $1 Rumble Rants talking about Asians. If you want us to read any more, you're gonna have to sign up for Rumble Wallet and submit them through the Rumble Wallet. Those are our terms.
Those are our terms. If we're and you know what? I promise you that when some fucking racist asshole starts screaming about Latinos, I'm not going to support that either.
Right. Okay. Vientikis. So one thing I'll point out is that trying to dive deep into African and Arab cultural history, or even any cultural history of a place that doesn't speak a lot of English, is very fucking hard. Oh, sorry. Got that one already. Sorry. What did I do here? Okay, here we go. Siddhartha Visha says, Russ, sorry I forgot to tell you to pack a wife when you went on your holiday in Cambodia. Eric Rousseau, blockbuster movie idea, The Passion of Trans Christ. How come Hollywood never wokeify Bible stories? Jolly Man Big Boy says, I think the cinematic...
I mean, some people felt The Passion of the Christ was that.
Yeah, that's true. Jolly Man Big Boy says, I think these cinematic culture wars are designed so they can create an event out of a film to see which side is in power based on success failure. It is a cultural barometer of sorts. I'm in the Boundary Waters right now, says French Laundry. I highly recommend everybody visit #1 place in the world. Also recommend having Aaron Good as a guest. Yeah, Aaron Good, I think, follows us. Andy Gardner says, I prefer my Odysseus to be a sassy Boston cop. Good one. David Hughes Rumble. The most beautiful woman in the world is my girlfriend, Beth. Alas, she is far too busy being a frailty nurse to be in pictures. That's right. That's the right answer, my friend. K-pop Demon Hunters draws from Korean mythology and folklore enjoyed by fans across all cultures without pushing messages about diversity.
Yeah, that's a very good example of where they demonstrated, hey, it doesn't have to be all European folktales, man. Like, people can respond to mythology from other cultures.
Right. EO Shush. This is easy for you to say that race doesn't matter, but how would you feel if there was a movie about Moses played by a white Christian? It would bother me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming you are joking.
Yes, you are joking. Yes. Let's see. Professor Brown. No. Who played Moses?
He's joking. He's talking about Charlton Heston.
Charlton Heston. Yeah. Charlton Heston. Yeah. Besides Helen of Troy, I'm also writing a saucy toga gay movie called Hawk 2 Brute. Ha, good one. Ha, good one. Asians will never be AZN. What is YouTube? No matter how much money. I don't know what that means. But thank you for that. Erkuso, Cenk, the vote blue no matter who, extreme radical. Someone needs to call ICE on him immediately. Yes. That's the thing. They're pretty milquetoast as it goes.
Yeah.
When free speech warrior JD Vance hears about this, he'll be on the next plane to Britain to give them an earful. Yeah. I wonder if Matt Taibbi's going to write an article about that. I wonder if Matt Taibbi.
Yeah, I seem to remember. I seem to remember a guy I ran into at Rescue the Republic who I said to him, "Hey man, traditionally these right-wing people, they don't really care about free speech. So what are you going to do? They get in power and they revert to form. Well, then we'll take them on."
We'll take them on when we get to them. Yeah.
That's what he said. I'm waiting.
Still waiting. I thought the authoritarian creep was the new UK dance craze. Good one. Stoop Sign says Keaton is rendered somewhat speechless. The UK would rather he be totally speechless. Yeah, that's why. I mean, I wouldn't go. I was on Lee Camp's show yesterday, and I told Lee Camp, I said, I don't know, could we even do our jobs in the UK? Like, could we even work there? Like, I would feel much more nervous there than in most of those authoritarian countries, quote unquote. Bring it to Greenia. Austin's Cancel Capital Factory campaign was central in 24 South by Southwest. CapFac is the locus of dual use contracts. It's a huge web with IDF, DoD, and more. Yeah, well, that was a big story back in 2024. We covered it, and they caved for sure. All right, folks, that's our show. Thanks everybody very much for being here. Because we had no Q&A on Sunday, we're going to a Q&A right now on Rumble. DoDissidents.com/Rumble takes you right to the Rumble stream. All are welcome to stay and hang out in the chat. And patrons, paid Substackers, and paid Locals members are welcome to call in. So we're going to take a 5-minute break. We're going to go to an intermission, and we will come right back and take your call. So please do jump on the call line right now if you are so inclined. We thank you, everybody, for being here. Thanks to the YouTubers. Thanks to the Rumblers. Thanks to the mods for keeping the peace in the chat. We will see you in 5 minutes for the Q&A if you're sticking around. If you're not sticking around, we'll see you Thursday, 12 p.m. Eastern. Until then, thanks very much for hanging out with us this afternoon. Be safe and be well.
Courage!
Please clap.
You